I'm gonna chase it, and I'm gonna chase it. I know we can't ignore it, no matter how hard we try. And I'm gonna chase it, and I'm gonna chase it. I know we can't ignore it, no matter how hard we try. Fire in the veins, I fight to gain, breaking all the rules to keep me sane. Living the moment till I die. And I'm gonna chase it, and I'm gonna chase it. I know we can't ignore it, no matter how hard we try. And I'm gonna chase it, and I'm gonna chase it. I know we can't ignore it, no matter how hard we try. No matter how hard we try.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the English Shooting live stream. For all you regulars that have already been seen in the chat, welcome back. Thanks for coming back. I know this isn't necessarily for everyone, and for anybody new, let's try and not scare you off. And if you are new, please subscribe, please hit the like button and share. We're all about sharing this great sport, shooting sports, and I try and do my bit to help people into it, explain the processes, and we also in between have a little bit of fun, do a bit of gun reviewing, and of course the live streams is your chance to talk one-on-one, to bring up topics or questions that you haven't been able to find the answer for, and hopefully I can help you out with those. And if I can't, there are many knowledgeable and experienced people in the chat as well, so use that chat box. You can throw abuse at me, I'll throw it back, fair warn. But yes, it's been a fairly slow week in terms of news, certainly on the shooting sports side of things, but there's been actually quite a bit on the sort of hunting and game side, which we will get onto. But the main topic for this evening is going to be talking about the ultimate or best all-round first gun. And I'm not going to sort of preach and say these are the ones you should go out. Of course, I have my recommendations, which I'm sure a lot of you are already going to know what they are going to be, but I also want to see what you guys are saying as well. There's always guns that are thrown up during the live streams that I've never heard of, that I, after the live stream, go and research and sometimes even do a video on afterwards. So I want to learn from you guys what were your first guns, what would you recommend to somebody for their first gun, and we can sort of get in and maybe find a few sort of hot recommendations. But really, it's the reason I wanted to sort of tackle this in the live stream is because it's not a clean-cut question. There's many different guns for many different purposes, not just sport, but for hunting and in some places in the world, self-defense. Okay, I don't actually have a beer, so I can't even take a sip for that offense. But there's, they're tools, and you don't use the same tool necessarily for the same job. And even within sports shooting, you've got a multitude of different disciplines. So a lot of people will message or email or comment and say, what do you recommend for a first gun? And it's like, well, what do you want to do? There's no point me telling you about sort of my recommendations on a starter shotgun if what you're interested in is gallery rifle, or there's no point me recommending a semi-auto 2.2 if you want to be shooting at 1,000 yards. So it's horses for courses, but there are general categories that we can get onto. Yes, a lot of you are saying that my recommendation is going to be the 1522. I of course rate this rifle highly. I really don't think you can go wrong with it. I honestly think everyone should have one in their cabinets or in their gun collection. But if we're going to start on the semi-auto 2.2s, I would personally, if you're going to buy the first gun, and let's say it's going to be the only gun for a while, and you're looking at semi-auto 2.2s, I would actually be tempted to look more to the 1022. I know a very popular option that a lot of you guys have been saying in the comment sections, and the Ruger 1022, it's been around for decades. It's well proven, it's hardy, and it is like the absolute master on a lot of disciplines. Yes, if what you straight away want to get into is practical mini rifle, then I would steer away from the 1022. But the 1022 can still kick ass on a practical mini rifle stage. It can be used to great effect in a practical shooting environment. But the reason personally, if that's going to be sort of your first gun and sort of only gun for a while, that I would say the 1022 is because it's very hard to beat for gallery. It's absolutely immense for speed still. It's arguable that it's not as good as the AR platform for practical mini rifle, but it can still hold its own. You can also go out hunting. Yes, you can do that with a 1522 as well, but you chuck a wooden stock on your Ruger 1022 and it's not going to scare the neighbors quite so much. And it's incredibly accurate, incredibly reliable, magazine dependent. So yeah, my sort of tip for your first semi-automatic 2.2 long rifle would be the 1022. It is a very hard to beat all-round gun, and the amount of accessories and upgrades that you can bolt onto it is just immense. There's probably as many, well, I would say easily more accessories and upgrades for the 1022 than the 1522. You can really hone it in to be whatever you want, if that's going to be a skeletonized, super featherweight, lightweight speed still gun, or you want to maybe make it a little bit more tactical. I think it was it the Archangel stock that you could drop it into and turn it into a little bit of an AR-15, and you can leave it just in the standard wood stock, or you can even go and get a stock from Form Rifle Stocks and turn it into a real kick-ass sort of gallery and sort of tack driver. The 1022, certainly with the upgraded barrels, can be absolute tack drivers, and certainly more accurate than the 1522. So I think all round as a first gun, probably the 1522. It's funny, and I know why during the last 5 years I haven't bought one myself, but it is funny that I didn't, whilst I had the opportunity to buy one, didn't buy one myself. I have yet to own a 1022. Let me reassure you that as soon as I am granted certificates and the privilege to own firearms once again here, I will be right out there getting a 1022, because it will be a great content, I think, for the channel, because I want to do a project gun. Certainly, one of a great subscriber and fan of the channel very kindly brought down his I think it was the Rude Fat Dog. No, was it no Rimfire Magic? I'm getting all confused. His Rimfire Magic 1022, and the first line of stills that I did on the plate rack, I was like, yeah, okay, I can see why everyone says this trumps the 1522 for sort of speed shooting, and I just like the idea of getting, a 50 quid sort of banger gun off of Gun Trader, and pimping it out, getting a new barrel, getting a new trigger group for it, just completely pimping it out, and showing you guys the process and maybe taking some advice on the upgrades on that. So yeah, of course, second to the 1022, like 1522. It's very hard to beat for a first gun as well. It is cheap. Again, that's another big bonus of the 1022, is that you can pick them up for like £50. I think Connors now has two £20 1522s. So he's invested all of 40 quid into the Ruger 1022, and he's got 2 of them. So you can pick them up for bargain prices, and again, they just go on and on. But the 1522, again, really, really cheap. In the States, it's just insulting how cheap it is. You can pick them up for like $300. It's absolutely mental. Over here, $600, or second hand, you're probably looking £300-400. Again, solid gun. And if you're leaning towards the practical mini rifle, definitely the 1522 over the 1022. But in terms of other disciplines, I would say for long range shooting, I did see somebody say, like, when am I going to really get into talking about rifle calibers and cartridges and also hunting? But it's not a discipline that I spend a lot of my time in. You all know I'm very practical based, and that's what I put a lot of my focus in. It's what I enjoy the most. Also with Magload, that's where we're certainly very much focused in the practical market, so that's where I spend a lot of my time. So in terms of long range, in terms of hunting, I'm not going to be the best person to ask, but I did see one of the recommendations, and potentially the recommendation to go for, which was the Hauer kit. You can buy this complete package. You get the rifle, you get an optic, I think a slip and a bipod, and pretty much everything to go out to the range. You walk into the shop, you walk out, and you can go to the range and shoot. But the first sort of full bore gun, all-round full-bore gun, whether you want to go shoot at 1,000 yards, whether you want to go out in the field, maybe do some hunting, or you just want to plink at whatever range you want, I still haven't found a gun that can really be beaten all round by the Remington 700. It's a very staple gun. It's been around for absolutely for years, decades. Again, it's well proven. There are loads of accessories and upgrades for it. Loads of people have them. You can get loads of different varieties, and they are really cheap. I think when I bought my Remington 700, which I then sold, I think I picked it up for like £700 brand new, and it was the SPS Tactical. And it was the perfect package for me. Somebody had already put the enlarged bolt handle onto it, which was one of the mods that I was looking forward to doing, but it came on the gun. But yeah, you can get new barrels for them, triggers, new stocks, obviously, just all new internals. You can go and have them completely tuned to how you want. And it's a great all-round gun, something very similar to the 1022, where you can really go and do pretty much anything with it. Yes, there's going to be certain disciplines. If you're going to go and enter F class, then, well, it's not going to do the best job, but it's still going to hold its own in many different areas. And in terms of a first time or your first full bore like bolt action rifle, the Remington 700, again, I really don't think there's anything out there that beats it all round. So that would be my vote for that. Don't see many people disagreeing with me so far, which is odd, actually. Maybe you don't realise you guys are on mute. The CZs as well. This is why it's such a hard and difficult question to answer, because people start talking about bolt action 22s and semi-automatic 22s, and you got bolt action full bore, and of course there is semi-automatic full bore, but we're just not allowed it here in the UK, unfortunately. But yes, the Remington 700 for your first full bore rifle for any purpose, I really don't think you're gonna go wrong with it. And then shotguns are of course a massive starting point in the world of firearms here in the UK. There's something like 650,000 shotgun certificates, and something like only, I think it's like 150,000 firearm certificates off the top of my head and from the last count. So a lot more people own shotguns. A lot more people will start with a shotgun certificate. Certainly I did, and a lot of the people that I know did, and then we'll move on to their firearm certificate. So most people's first firearm here in the UK is going to be a shotgun, and is most likely going to be an over and under. Of course, being very biased because I bought one, the Beretta Silver Pigeon. Now, I've said many times, I think the quality over the years has slipped a little bit, and the prices, of course, only gone one way. And I feel that the one that I ended up buying was really at sort of the peak of what they were making the Beretta Silver Pigeon. All of the manufacturing processes that they were using, the wood that they were putting on there. I think I've said before, you can go into a gun shop and see all of the lines of different guns, from the DT10, the Jubilee, DT11, right down to Silver Pigeon. And my Silver Pigeon I'll go across, and I end up getting a number of tiers higher from today's Silver Pigeon in terms of a like for like wood. So certainly a gun I would recommend looking at second hand. I think buying a sort of a 5-10 year old Silver Pigeon, you really can't go wrong, and I think you may technically get something a little better. That's what's on the shelf at the moment, but the ones on the shelves at the moment, the brand new ones, they are certainly not bad at all. And you can also buy upgraded stocks for them. You can go and throw some stupid money at some nice stocks for your Silver Pigeon. And again, like the 700, like the 1022, the Silver Pigeon has been around for ages. It's again a real staple of the shooting community, the shooting world, and it just does everything so well. I got the Sporter model, but I've been on game days with it, and it fits in on a game day. Yes, you'll be stood next to somebody with a £50,000 matched pair, but a 1,500 quid Silver Pigeon still looks the part. You're not going to feel necessarily that you're letting the side down if you're on a game day with one of them. It fits in very nicely. I've taken it out pigeon shooting, either roost shooting or making a hide. Does the job perfectly there. And of course, being the Sporter model, the main reason I got it was for clay pigeons, and it's done that incredibly well. That's what it's ultimately designed for. And having the privilege of shooting many different over and unders from a DT11 and a DT10, there's not, for me, a huge jump. I would find it very hard to justify going and spending 10 grand on a pimped out over and under clay gun, because am I talking is a DT11 10 times better or 5 times better than a Silver Pigeon 1? I don't know. I don't know if I would necessarily see my scores go up just because of the gun. Maybe that's because I'm just not at that level yet. So the Silver Pigeon 1 for a first-time shotgun, really can't go wrong with that. Of course, the Browning 525, a very popular shotgun as well, been around for years. But I'm a Beretta man, and I usually say the bit of advice between Beretta and Browning is, if you like slim, petite, lighter guns, go for a Beretta. If you like something that's a bit more chunky, then you go for the Browning. The Brownings tend to be a thicker, heavier, chunkier gun. And yeah, so we could spend the rest of the evening going on all the different nooks and crannies of all the different areas of shooting and talking about what you should get. But those are, I would say, maybe we're going to move away from the first gun, but certainly your first 3 guns. If you go out there and buy a Beretta Silver Pigeon, a Ruger 1022 and a Remington 700, you're pretty much going to have every base, pretty much every base covered with just those 3 guns. They're going to last you forever. You're going to have a lot of fun with them. You can upgrade them, maybe not so much the Silver Pigeon. You should sort of leave that as it is. It sort of does the job straight out of the bag. But yeah, I think those certainly are good starter guns, depending on where you want to go and what disciplines you want to shoot. But yeah, what are you guys saying? Best shotgun, Browning, B 725 and 525. Well, I did say the 525. Mosin. So someone asked if I still had the Mosin Nagant. No, unfortunately, that's and I've said this a load of times. Out of all the guns I ended up having to sell, of course, I was fortunate to find ways to keep a lot of the guns that I had, or certainly the more important ones to me, like the Beretta Silver Pigeon that I bought. That was a gift from my parents for my 21st birthday. A lot of sort of sentimental value there, and I will never sell it. The 1522, I'd just done so much with it. I'd had it for so long, and yes, that's technically a gun I could just go and replace it. it's a great all-round gun in itself, so I wanted to be able to keep that and a few other sentimental pieces as well. But the Mosin, at the time, I genuinely said, I'll just, when I get my certificates back, I'll just buy another Mosin. And now they've quadrupled in price, so that's a bit of a shitter. So I think I paid, 250, maybe £300 around that price point, and to get a similar spec. So I did have the shorter version with I think it's the M44. I'm not that hot on historical rifles, but yeah, it was the short one, the flamethrower with the bayonet, beautiful condition. And yeah, I ended up selling it. I think I did make some money on it. I think I made like 50 quid. I sold it for like 50 quid more than what I'd paid for it. But now I'm gonna have to go and spend like £800-900 to go and replace that gun, and it's just a bit of an annoyance. And unless I'm lucky and I see one going for cheap, which hopefully I will when I have the opportunity. But yeah, don't have that one anymore. What other guns did I keep? My granddad's shotgun, just a single barreled. It's actually a hammer. It's got a hammer on the back of it. Really, that gun's probably worth like 25p, but again, it's a gun that I would never ever get rid of. I also had a Zabala, actually a great starter gun, and I've said it many times, you don't need to go and spend 1,500 quid on your first over and under. This Zabala shot just as well as the Beretta Silver Pigeon, and I had that to be able to give to friends when we were out on a playground. Instead of them all using the Beretta Silver Pigeon, I had another gun that they could use, and that's been kept as well. And I think that was that was it. So yeah, my collection dwindled, but I'm hoping to bounce back on that as quickly as possible. Hi Callum, my doctor would not sign your shotgun medical part. Saw your video on the matter. Now sorted my certificate. Cheers. Okay, well, it's glad to hear that you ended up getting that sorted. It can be really funny with the doctors, but you obviously, from what you're saying, I'm guessing the video helped in some way. So if it did help, good to hear. That's why it's out there. That's why I put it out there, to give people a bit more guidance on the matter. But yeah, good to hear you are on the route to getting your certificate, or you've even got your certificate. I'm on the light stuff this evening. We went down to the pub yesterday night, and the thought of drinking a beer is not the best thought this evening. What else are you guys saying? There's some like Mosin experts in here. I'm like, I literally went into the shop and I was like, is that the one that just spits flames? He's like, that's the one. I have it. And I always forgot what model it was, what sort of variant it was. I did see someone asking about an M1 Garand. There are some UK legal M1 Garands about. They are straight pull. We can't have semi-automatic, unfortunately. But people that they had been converted, or they'd been made as a replica in a straight pull variant, which allowed them to be UK legal. And there are a number of them floating about. I believe actually, because it was Suffolk Rifle Company that was bringing them in at one point. They were the ones that were known for the UK legal M1 Garands. I think Valmont Firearms also do get them in. Let's have a little look while we're live. Valmont Firearms. Valmont is actually quite a specialist, I would say, overall, in the historical market. So he does tend to get some really sort of interesting pieces in, and certainly seems to know his stuff about anything historical. Let's have a look. So I'll bring it up. Give Valmont a bit of free publicity. So this is Valmont's page. So it's just valmontfirearms.com. As you can see, there's all sorts of weird and wonderful. Let's see if he's got an M1 Garand. This might take a while. Yeah, we're on the Swiss. I know I do see posts from him occasionally about the M1 Garand. Oh, the new T2. So this is being done by the Tunnel. Actually made a live stream focusing on that, and I'm hoping to get one in my hands soon to do like a full breakdown and review of it. It's very interesting design. There have been some, let's say, whinginess across the industry about that gun. Few people crying foul. And if you didn't realise, yes, we can own Canons in the UK. Of course, this is the United Kingdom. This is England. How is a man meant to protect his castle? So I'm not seeing. Is there like a search bar? Is that a search thing? Oh, that's a little menu. There we go. This is not going well. It doesn't look like he's got any at the moment. So, well, it would be in straight pull. Let's just give this one last. Oh, that's pretty tasty. So yeah, of course, straight pulls are usually AR-15s in the UK. That's predominantly what they use. Power Ordnance, that's pretty tasty as well. Schmidt-Reuben straight pull, but no M1 Garand. So they are very hard to get hold of. But occasionally, Valmont, I do see. It might have been a while since he posted about it, but you can pick them up. It is possible. Big up the ES Massive. Yep. I don't know if I'd necessarily refer to the fans and subscribers as the ES Massive, but I think they've been called worse. Mochaccino FAC when how long's a piece of string? God knows at this point. Of course, there's going to be a lot of American subscribers and viewers seeing this going like, why is this guy not talking about the first handgun? Not necessarily a strong point here in the UK on that one, but I would say a Glock. Like, with my limited experience with handguns, I would say a Glock, because again, it's just like an all-round gun. You can turn up to a competition with it. You can, where permissible by law across the world, use it for such things as, you know, self-defense. You can you can do 3-gun with it. You can do IPSC with it. You can go and do sort of steel challenge with it. So they are a great all-round gun for that. Are they a master of anything? Probably not, but a good all-round gun. So, have you ever considered moving to the USA for gun rights? Yes, I think I did make a video on this a number of years ago. I would love to move to the US. It would, for a gun enthusiast like myself, certainly working full time in the gun industry, it would be absolutely immense to go out there. But there are things bigger in life than guns. I know, guys, like, that might be a hard one to take, but it's the truth. I've got family, I've got fiance, we're trying to buy our first house, things like that. So it's it would be much harder to, maybe like 10 years ago, it would have been easy or easier. But now, we've got business to run, family, friends, and all that. And I like to see of it. I think of it that there's already enough vocal people out in the US. I don't think they need any more. Like, I think really they should be sending people over to us to help us. Some Second Amendment. Not necessarily Second Amendment advocation here, but obviously the pro Second Amendment crowd out in the US. Very vocal. Trying to push things forward, defend things. We could definitely do with a lot more around that here in the UK. Beretta 92, that is, I've said this many times, if handguns were made legal tomorrow, that would be the first gun that I would go and buy. The first handgun I would go and buy, a 92 FS. It's like, it's an absolute pig to shoot. Like, I was very disappointed when I first shot one, but I'm a huge Die Hard fan. It is, well, if you hadn't guessed, huge Die Hard fan. It is a Christmas movie. There is no debate. And it is arguably the greatest Christmas movie ever made. And it's getting on. You know, it changes every now and then, but I would say it's probably my favorite movie of all time. I've probably watched that movie more times than any other movie out there. So the Beretta 92, and I love the fact that they used the same movie gun for Die Hard as they did Lethal Weapon. I also love the Lethal Weapon films. Again, like sort of Die Hard, there's no real Lethal Weapons after the... Well, with Die Hard, there's no Die Hard after Die Hard with a Vengeance, right? They just didn't make any more. It just didn't happen. I hope we can all agree on that. And with Lethal Weapon, I think maybe Lethal Weapon 4... Is Lethal Weapon 4 the one with Benny in? It's not Flied Lice. That bit just cracks me up. But yeah, Lethal Weapon, huge fan of that, and Die Hard, like literally a Die Hard fan. So yeah, the Beretta 92, like how it's like the most famous gun. And I have to say, probably Die Hard has quite a significant sort of responsibility of my love of shooting and firearms as it is today. So yeah, good choice. More to life than guns. What are you talking about, Callum? There is, you know, we can't all just sit around stroking our guns all well, yeah, technically we could, but it's just not as easy. Like, people always pose that question of, why don't you just move to the States? And it's like, yeah, because it's that easy, you know. I'm just gonna phone up Joe and be like, yeah, can I have a green card? You know, I want to come over and, you know, help the Second Amendment crowd out there and help the pro gun crowd out in America. Let's go for it, Joe. Yeah, like, that's not going to happen. You've got to get a green card. You've either got to, I think, invest, is it $250,000 or $500,000 into a business out there, or into the economy out there in some form. That sort of gives you a green card. You obviously, family, you've got to marry in. Well, I'm marrying a very nice English woman, not American. She has a British passport, unfortunately. But yeah, so I'm not going to marry my way into there. So the only way is to sort of apply for a green card. I guess with my sort of engineering background, that might be a little easier. But it's, you know, I could go and get an engineering job, but then I'm going to leave working in the gun industry full time to go out to America to work in an engineering job, which means I have less time to shoot so that I can do more shooting. It's not an easy thing. But yes, if there was a big magic button, certainly if I've said before, my goal is to have a place out there. My goal is to have a holiday home of some description in some state. There's loads of states across the states that I would love to live in. So definitely to have a holiday home out there, a base, grow a collection out in the States for shooting out there. And yeah, if I was to win, you know, the Euro Millions tomorrow, they do on a Friday, right? If I was to win like 100 million tomorrow, yeah, I would have multiple homes across the States. I would be out there, you know, many times a month. I'd be, you know, flying in luxury to go and do a weekend shooting, wouldn't we all? But that's unfortunately not reality. You can marry me, Callum. Thanks. I mean, that's a solid offer right there. I need to see proof of your American passport first, so I'm not falling for that one again. Daniel Smerald looks like he's arguing with somebody. What else is new? Hi, Daniel. Thanks for joining. Daniela, sorry. I disrespected your pronouns. I'm sorry. Daniela. How could we forget? Why not like Switzerland or a European country where you can shoot? Well, we can shoot here. Like, again, like a lot, there seems to be this misconception that, like, in America, they're giving out guns like candy, right? You know, or like sweets. I am British, I've got to remember that. You know, there's, you know, yeah, everyone have a gun, here we go. There are still restrictions in the States. There are still laws that you have to follow, and it's not, you know, you just walk. I was literally going to say walk into the supermarket and buy a gun. Oh, yes, you can, but it's not necessarily that straightforward or that easy. Well, it sort of is, isn't it? But there are laws out there, right? It's not a free for all. That's what I'm trying to get to. It's not a free for all. And then people still think that there is an outright ban of anything shooting related here in the UK. Like, there are still 2.5 million legally owned guns, and yes, apart from handguns, and yes, apart from full-bore semi-automatic rifles, we can still own everything. Like, any bolt-action rifle, any 2.2 rimfire semi-automatic, you know, black powder guns, muzzle loading. Like, there's still like a good selection, and shotguns as well. Like, there's apart from, yes, there are some particular shotguns we can't own here, but pretty much every shotgun across the world can be owned here in the UK legally under a Section 1 or a Section 2. So it's not like we're desolate here. And again, going into Europe, yes, there are a lot of good countries, like the Czech Republic. Like, I would actually seriously consider going there. I've loved the times I've been out there. It's a great country, you know, great culture, great people, and they love their guns. And their prime minister came out and said that, you know, people should own more guns to be able to shoot terrorists. Like, I mean, that's out there. Like, you know, that's for a head of state. But, you know, I guess that's a sign of the times that we live in. But yeah, you know, you're in a pretty pro-gun country when you're I don't know, is he a prime minister or a president, or the leader of the country is saying get a gun so you can shoot terrorists. So that would be another drink, wouldn't it? Callum's pronouns are I'm a little teapot. You can very, very easily lose the mod privileges, Daniel. Just let me remind you that. But yeah, Czech Republic, that would be on my list. Not so keen on France, if I'm going to be completely honest. Germany, there's areas of Germany or even Netherlands. Like, I've visited the Netherlands many times. I love the culture out there. I've got friends out there. But you can't own single-barrel shotguns or semi-automatic single-barrel shotguns. So, you know, the main sort of discipline, and certainly the main thing of mag load, that would be gone and out the window. So again, it's not an easy thing necessarily to move to Europe. Certainly after Brexit, you know, it's not just a given now that we could go and live out there. And again, it's not that bad in the UK. I know a lot of Americans go, "What the fuck have you been smoking? It's horrendous over here." There's still a lot that we can own. There's still a lot of shooting that we can do. So it's, you know, it swings and roundabouts really. Only guns. Oh dear. Shall we check it? So if those of you that don't know, it's the same as I've just checked it. It's the same as last week. Captain Crack, what are you doing? Pull your finger out. It's live stream time. There should be a new image on Only Guns. So Captain Crack, you'll find him quite often in the UK Shooting Discord, and he bought the domain onlyguns.co.uk and likes to keep us entertained most weeks. Some weeks he slacks. With a new image on there, and this, for those of you that hadn't seen it, and it's sort of a tradition now on the stream to check onlyguns.co.uk. This was the image last week, which is it's just banging. Like, it's just so on point. And as I explained last week, if those of you that don't know, the owner of Silverstone Shooting Centre gets very irate if you shoot his target frames. I mean, like, yeah. There's some justification there, but you're putting a bit of wood down range, like, it's going to get shot. Like, it's almost like he's so surprised, like, somebody shot the target frame, and you're like, it's down range, you know, it's by the target, it's by the thing you're meant to be shooting at. It's like, it's not going to be that rare that a target frame gets shot. Like, let's be honest. Now, granted, that was a pretty a pretty good group. I'm assuming that's on the 100-yard range there. I don't know. I've never been. Probably never would. Probably never allowed to go there. But so, you know, to get that sort of group, say at 100 meters, not so bad if, you know, standing, whatever. So that's obviously quite purposeful, or someone's been an absolute knob and they've just, instead of putting it to the side, or, you know, they've just nailed it to the frame itself. But is it really that big of a deal? Well, obviously, Silverstone thinks so. Moving on. T-Rex Arms, the man who speeds up his videos and doesn't show groupings. That guy. Saucy. English Shooting. Thank you so much for saying that. People in other countries don't seem to know that. My family had a gun store back in the 60s and the 70s, and they were, and there was always a background check. Yeah, you know, I've gone and witnessed it myself. I mean, I point to this quite a lot because it's a nice memento. It's not the patch, it's actually behind the patch, the receipt. That receipt is a Walmart receipt. When I bought ammo in Walmart for the first time, it's the first ammo that I'd like gone to a shop and actually bought. That sort of blew my mind. I know it seems really silly, but it just, you know, being able to walk into a supermarket and come away with like $150 worth of ammunition, and to have only shown my driving license, a British driving license at that, or a UK driving license at that, and then be allowed to walk out the shop with it. And it's like that I could get used to. Like, that would be a massive perk. Oh shit, you know, I need to go and get some 9mm. All right, I'll stop off at Walmart and get some beef jerky, a Pepsi, and some 9mm. Like, over here, you know, well, first of all, like, the gun shops never opened on the day that you actually need it. Gun shops tend to have really, I've always noticed this, tend to have really weird opening days. Like, they love to close on Tuesday. Like, what did Tuesday do to you? Like, it's, you know, we're gonna close Tuesday and Wednesday. Why? Just because. And they're still closed Sunday. So it will be like they're closed Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday. And it's like, but Sunday's the day that you go shooting. That's the day that I want to go via the gun shop to pick up some ammo. No, we're shut on Sunday. But you have Tuesday and Wednesday. It's always weird opening hours. But yeah, over here in the UK, it's like you have that thought in the back of your mind. I'm going to the range. I probably need to buy some ammo. But how much ammo do I actually have at home? And if I buy some, am I going to be over my limit? Am I going to end up in prison? Like, it would be nice just not to have that worry and just go and get your beef jerky with some ammunition and not worried about the police kicking your door in. So yeah, that's a big difference. But of course, yeah, buying guns out in the States, background checks from a gun shop. Yes, you know, there's, again, I'm not versed on US law enough to really get into this discussion, but this whole gun show loophole, it is something that, like, maybe actually with Dan, that we can do this, because Dan, for those of Daniela, sorry, respect your pronouns. Daniela is an American citizen. He does have an American passport. Maybe I should just marry Daniela. He's already done this. He's already had the transition, right? So we might legally be able to do this, but again, I would really have to check the law on this, because I do not want to get a criminal record out in the States. That would not be good. That ends any shooting for me out there ever. But to actually test it, and as far as, and any Americans watching this, please correct me if I'm gonna start talking complete horseshit on this note. But I'm pretty sure that if I was to go out into the States and I went on Craigslist, or, you know, a gun, you know, a private forum or whatever, and met up with somebody, you know, random, you know, private citizen, and bought a gun from them, like, are they required to do a background check, right? Well, there's two questions there. Would that be legal? Well, of course it wouldn't be legal, because I'm a legal alien. But is that feasible? Is that something you could actually go and do? You know, just go on Craigslist, find somebody that's selling a gun, meet him in a car park and buy it. Like, firstly, what laws are being broken? What do they actually need to do in a private transaction like this? And what are the chances of somebody actually still selling it to me? You know, I turn up there with my beautiful British accent, and they start thinking, hang on a minute, this guy isn't American, he's not a citizen, this is definitely against the law. Like, are they gonna stop, or are they just gonna go, fuck it, you know, right to bear arms? Like, I don't know, there's something that I've always wanted to like try for myself without going to prison. Like that bit I really don't want to try, but maybe with Dan being an American citizen, or even Philip, who helps with the guns out in Kentucky for American shooting trips, maybe having like a lawful gun buyer there just to test it, you know, or maybe even, because I know that Philip's quite buddy with the police. Maybe David, it's something that I could hit Philip up on and actually see, like, if a police sheriff would allow me to do something like that, just to sort of see if it's possible. But I don't know. I might be talking complete horseshit. You might be all saying, no, they would march you to a shop and they get the shop to do the background check. I don't know. Depends on the state. Okay, so there's hope. So you have to be a resident of the states. Yeah, that I'm pretty clear on. So, you know, I could buy a property out there and become a resident that way. So I'm not necessarily an American citizen, but I have property. I know a couple of people that do that. And depends if PPT is allowed without FFL. So I know what FFL is. It's federal, like, it's a shop, isn't it? It's the equivalent of our RFD. What's a PPT? Is that like a new PPQ? No background check, but you have to be a resident of the same state. Okay, depends on state. A private sale, you don't need a background check. So as far as I know, background checks are not needed for private sales in the US. At gun shows, yes, a background check is required because it's a gun show, it's professional. Okay, so there isn't then there, like, this is what I've heard a lot of times. There isn't this gun show loophole. Like, if you are a firearms dealer and you go to a gun show, you are still required to do a background check. Whether or not somebody does and they're breaking the law in selling that gun, then, well, that's just, they're breaking the law, and, you know, that's, you can make as many laws as you want, doesn't mean people are going to follow them. But that is interesting that no background checks are needed for private sales. So technically there would be a good chance that if I went over there and tried to buy a gun off of somebody, you know, unless they were, you know, really stringent and were going to check that I was a resident, like, is that something you guys would do? Like, is that during a private transaction like that, is that just run of the mill? Would you check somebody's ID card? Would you check, you know, that they're not, you know, what if they're a felon? Like, this is all the things that really, like, intrigued me about the, you know, the way guns are bought and sold privately in the States. Like, how would you check if someone's a felon? Because if you're a private individual, are you not committing a crime by selling a felon a gun, or giving, or, you know, transacting with a felon? So how would you check if they are a felon? Or is it just like, is the onus on the buyer rather than the seller in a private transaction? I don't know. It's always just really fascinated me, that sort of these technicalities. PPT, private party transfer. Ooh, I'm learning. Every day's a school day. Most people use their CCWs. Yeah, that would be a good way. You would need a state driver's license because that's how you prove it in the States. California, New York, and certain states require an FFL to do a PPT. Okay. At gun shows, it is only required of the seller is an FFL. If the seller is just a private person, they don't need to do a background check. So there technically is a gun show loophole. I'm probably triggering so many people. I'm not intentionally triggering it. I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate here. But, like, it is quite fascinating. I asked for their CCW because that proves they aren't a felon. That seems. But what if someone doesn't have, like, in the case that somebody doesn't have a CCW, what would you then ask for? Like, or would you just back out of the sale if you are not? Like, this is what I want to ascertain, is, like, how seriously do you take it? And I don't want to diminish anybody's, like, lawful activity and sort of lawful, you know, lawful gun ownership, but like, how stringently do you take it? If someone rocks up and it's like, no, sorry, I've only got my driver's license, and I haven't got a CCW, I can't, like, would you back out of the deal? Or do you have to be like 80% sure that they're legit, or do you have to be like 100% sure? The gun show loophole is just the private sale loophole. Cool, makes sense. State ID, driver's license, our laws are a maze, just like ours. Oh, don't get me wrong. It is illegal for a felon to buy a gun, so they certainly wouldn't do something illegal. No worries. Yeah, that's how it works, right? And I mean, you switch it to our, our agencies. Owning an illegal firearms is a crime. Thanks, NCA. Thanks for that one. Taxpayers' money at work right there. I would take their DL number in case they driving license number in case they turn out to be a felon. A felon won't give you that. Okay. So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think it's a bit of a shitter, really. Like, if you're a private individual and you're selling to another, it would be pretty shit if you've sold it to somebody, assuming that they're not doing anything illegal by buying a gun as a felon, and it turns out they are a felon, and then the police come knocking on your door because you've sold a felon a gun. Like, in that situation, would you just be able to say, look, I am really sorry that I'm not that sort of guy. Like, if I'd have known, I wouldn't have sold it to him. Would they take that as an excuse? I know ignorance is never a form of defense in law, but like, would a sheriff like batter you for it? I don't know. Again, it's only a crime if you know they are a felon. Okay, so there is a there is a bit of leeway. So you go like, well, how the fuck was I meant to know? Like, maybe like felons should just have it tattooed on their head. No, that's going down a very dark avenue right there. I'm sure Coley on the Wall did a piece in New York, and he found out if you're not a resident of the state of New York, then touching a handgun is a felony. Jesus. But what if can you cross, like, obviously, like, magazine restrictions dependent, but like, what's like a neighbouring state of New York? Oh, my geography is terrible, but it's like no. I was about to say Washington, but that's not really that close. Like, what if you're a legal owner, CCW carrier in one state, and you cross into New York, or is it just you don't go there? Like, you ignore New York like it doesn't exist. Ignorance is actually protection here. That's interesting. I never knew that. New York is communist. Even more than California. Oh, Jesus. In Florida, private transfers are legal. All you are required to do is ensure that they are of legal age and they can't be a convicted felon to the best of your knowledge. That's, like, I know, like, all gun control is infringement and all that, but all gun laws are infringement. But that's pretty sensible. Like, I have to give it to the lawmakers there. They have actually built in quite a lot of provision there for people just literally not knowing that they're committing a crime. Whereas in the UK, yeah, you're not seeing your family for 5 years at least. Like, that's, there's no ignorance. No, you're not in. It's your job to find out. Like, I've always wondered in the case of like firearms certificate. Now, they have made them, and I do have to caveat this just in case someone wants to take this out of context. I am in no way advocating or suggesting that anyone should ever try to or should forge a firearms certificate. When I had mine under close examination, my thoughts were that it wouldn't actually be that hard to forge, right? And I was thinking, if I was to sell a gun privately here, like, of course, the best way for us is you take somebody's firearms certificate. If they've got a firearms certificate, then that's actually an acceptable form of ID. It's up there with a driving license or a passport, and of course, it shows that they are lawfully entitled to have that gun. But what if someone provides you a forged firearms certificate? Like, I guess the ignorance there. I mean, you've been scammed. You're actually the victim in that case because you've been misled. They've acted fraudulently. and you can say like, look, I did everything I was meant to. I checked for their firearm certificate. Don't have access to their system, but I would be interested to find out like how the police would deal with that. Somebody forges a firearm certificate, buys a gun privately off of a forum or Gunstar or Gun Trade or whatever. You as the certificate holder can't tell that it's a fake, sign it onto their fake certificate, and they disappear into the night. And then it turns out, because of course you've then got to submit. So the way that it works here in terms of a private sale is you sign it onto their certificate, you cross it off your certificate, and then you email or post notification to your local police force that you have disposed of that gun. Of course, they're then not going, because it's a fake, they're then not going to notify their local county police force that they just bought it. So is that then going to get picked up? Are the police then going to go, well, hang on a minute, he's disposed of it here, but it hasn't popped up on any other county's database? And they come back to you, and you give them a copy of the certificate, and they work out it's fake and it doesn't match up. Or I think you even have to give them the buyer's certificate number, so they run that through their system. It comes up as fake or fraudulent. Like, how much trouble are you going to get in? Like, because again, someone puts a good fake in front of you. Like, what are you to do? Like, how does it work? I guess in shops, when somebody provides fake ID for products over the age of 18 to buy alcohol, cigarettes, or so on and so forth. Like, can the shop still be prosecuted? Can the shop still be fined? Because they're not forensic experts, they're not fraud specialists, they can't necessarily decipher a fake ID. So there's all these like weird sort of pockets of cases where like it'd just be very interesting. But from what you guys have said, to the best of your knowledge, that's like that. I think that's pretty fair. That is actually pretty good overall. Cuba is really, really communist. Yes, that's good history lesson there. Isn't there meant to be protections for transporting between states through some interstate commerce law or something? So we actually experienced this going to Utah. So there was a number of people that flew into LA, and they flew in with Typhoons, Typhoon F12s. Now they come with like, I think you can get like a 25 round magazine for them, or it's a 15. Basically, they were over the 10 limit, and even though it was a shotgun, it still conformed to being an assault rifle. So flying into LA, California with an assault shotgun with high capacity magazines, there were some people that were really worried, really concerned that shit, like, what if I get stopped here? Like, first of all, I'm a Brit in America and I've got this assault shotgun, and basically the guidance was like it was only a real issue if you were going to be staying the night. If you were literally flying in, grabbing the gun and driving out of state, like they said, all you do is you put it in the boot, you get in the car, and you drive until you're into Nevada. Basically, like, everything should be good. And if you're stopped, explain the situation. You've literally just come from the airport, and you're heading out of communist California into Nevada. So I've experienced that slightly. We've also experienced it like trying to fly out of Chicago or go through Chicago with high capacity magazines. Yeah, like, forget it. Like, even LA, like that's a big no-no, is like coming from Utah or Nevada with like 25 round P mags, or even 25 round 1522 mags, and bringing them into California to fly out with them. That's a whole load of prison waiting for you right there, like, as far as we were aware. But yeah, I mean, ignorance is protection in this case, because if you don't know, they are a felon. Not with most other laws here though. Idaho does not require reports of lost or stolen firearms. That's, I mean, I've heard stories, and there was a guy when we were out in Utah, he's like, we're telling them about the license, that we've got to have a slot for every single one. We've got to tell them when we buy them, when we sell them, when we, trade them or dispose of them. And he's like, that's nuts. He's like, I had a Ruger 1022 that I took out to the range once, or like out into the woods. He ended up leaving it like just rested against a tree. And he was like, I was like two or 3 hours down the road, realized I'd left it there, and he was like, it was $100 gun. He said I was probably gonna spend more in fuel going back to get it, or it's America, so probably not. But you know, it wasn't worth me turning back. And I was like, that's nuts. Like to have that sort of ability where you can go, no, I'll leave the gun just in the woods there. Like in the UK, that, like, yes, prison, very much prison. Mad how it's different from state to state. Yeah, I mean that has to be probably one of the most interesting elements of American law, is keeping up with all the different states. Like it's as simple as like driving on your phone, like so what do they call it? Yeah, driving whilst on your phone, whilst on a call. Like, as far as I'm aware, again, it's like gun laws. Like some states, you'll end up in prison if you do it. Some you can have 5 mobile phones. You know, you could literally be hands free off the wheel with mobiles, and you won't get pulled over. I mean, that's just like, for me, that would be the most frustrating thing. Is like, which state am I at? You're going for like a road trip, and you're like, right, what can and what can't I do in each state on the way through? They're going to make possessing DWGs for 3D printed firearms illegal in the UK. It's already illegal to manufacture a gun in the UK without an RFD with manufacturer authority. Same old, make crime more criminal. By DWGs, do you mean drawings? Heavily dyslexic here. You got to help me out. Because actually having the files, having like this is something we've discussed on the channel before as well. There's I might not get all of them, but there are a certain accumulative like factors that need to be in place for prosecuting you for the intent to manufacture firearms. So you've got to have like the schematics, the drawings, the blueprints, the files, whatever. You've got to have the means, so you've got to have the tools, you've got to have the equipment, you've got to have the, you know, the ability to actually do it. You also have to have the skill. You have to have the they would have to demonstrate that you have the capacity to do it. Like you are mentally capable of doing it with your experience or knowledge. And then the last, I think it is the 4. So it's drawing, schematics, tools, knowledge, and intent. Now, I would say most people out there, like pretty much everyone in the UK, will have those 3. Right? And you might be thinking, I don't have schematics of guns lying about. If you've got an internet connection, you have schematics of guns lying about, right? That's an easy one for them to go, well, he didn't actually have any files on his hard drive, but he has the internet. So, we get him on that one. You've got a saw and a file up in the shed. That's the tools. You've got the knowledge. How do you prove or disprove that someone has the knowledge, right? Again, internet. And anyone can obtain the knowledge to be able to make a firearm, right? So they can easily get you on those 3. And then intent. Like, how do you prove intent? Now, this is where it comes like down to them kicking in your shed door and finding you there with, a picture of a gun and a file and a gun-looking shape on the bench, going, "Give me 5 minutes." It's that's really where the intent is. Or like, there's certain documentation on your computers where obviously it's quite obvious you are planning to do it, you intend to do it. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, any drawings or files is actually prohibited if you are not an RFD in the UK for manufacturing at the moment. This came in actually a couple of years ago. There was I did a video on the channel about it. If you drive through the state and never stop, that's basically the only way I would do it. Yeah, so again, I hear a lot of times that with like US laws, you can like basically if it's in your trunk, it's like it's okay. Like as long as it's doesn't matter what you've got in the trunk, but if you're moving through a state and it stays in the trunk, you're good. Don't call them assault. Like I'm like I know. Don't worry. That's why it's an assault shotgun. Like because we all know that it's just a fucking shotgun. In Cyprus, only allowed shoot guns, no autos. Shotguns. Shoot guns? Cyprus is actually, I was looking at the stats of this. Cyprus is I'll bring it up. What is gun? There we go. Gun ownership. It's in my history. Like, Cyprus is a pretty gun-loving country. Let's find the list. There we go. Number 9 in the world. Right, and it's all done by estimate of civilian firearms per 100 persons. 34. So it's like a third. No, wait. Estimates of civilian per 100 persons. Well, yeah, because that's not. What? So is that 100? So America estimate of civilian firearms per. So there's 120.5 guns per 100 persons. Sweet. But yeah, per 100, so there's what, 34 per 100. So yeah, it's like for every 3 people there's a gun. Serbia as well, like, went out to Serbia for the European Handgun Championship. They are quite obviously a big gun loving country. You know, of course, like America, like chill your fucking beans, mate. Like, just, you know, it's, they're all around the same, like, you know, they're going up, and it's like, you know, Yemen, like, okay, a big jump, and the Falkland Island, like, don't fuck with the Falkland Islands unless you're Maggie Thatcher. But yeah, America just doesn't fuck around, do they? It's just like, no one's getting close to these figures. But the reason I was looking at these the other day, somebody was talking about, you know, they were going about the States. Oh, the States has loads of guns, they have loads of deaths. And I'm like, you know, and I always quote, like, Switzerland, and Czech Republic as well. But I was like, no, let's go and refresh my memory. And I just started spieling off, like, you know, Finland, because they were like, oh, Europe's really safe because we don't have loads of guns. I'm like, yeah, Cyprus, Finland. Okay, Iceland isn't in Europe, but there are a lot of European countries there, you know, not just the Switzerland, or again, technically that's not EU, but it is in Europe, obviously. It is interesting. Where's the UK? We're going to have to scroll a very long time. Like, come on, UK. Come on. You're going to be here somewhere. Jeez. Northern Ireland has more than us. Have I already scrolled past it? Ireland. Oh, we are right down the fucking bottom, aren't we? There we go. Yeah. 4.6 guns per 100 people. What does that work out? What's the population? It's like 70 million. Oh, I'm going to have to do some quick math here. This is not going to go well. 1 minute. Just talk amongst yourself. So there's 70 million people. Let's times that by probably, yeah, it's like 0.0046. Nah, that's not right. I've definitely added an extra 0 there somewhere. Yeah, let's get rid of that. I mean, that comes out at 3.2 million. So I always say 2.5. 2.5 million guns in the UK is what I was aware of, but it, according to Wiki, I mean, it says it right there, doesn't it? That's the number I was trying to work out. Well, 2.7. Okay. Estimate number of firearms in civilian possession. So America has Christmas. Oh, they need some guns. They really need some guns. Poor Christmas Islands. Yeah, America has 300 times the amount of guns in the UK. That's pretty baller. India likes. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people in India. But yeah, again, like, America doesn't fuck about, do they? Like, not when it comes to guns. Anyway, I ended up going through this list the other day, and I thought it would be interesting to show you that. And yeah, like, there's a few examples there when somebody goes, oh, you know, we don't want to be like America. It's all off the back of the right to bear arms video, right? I approached the subjects of the British or the English right to bear arms, and people were like, we don't want this, and I'm like, have you actually watched the fucking video? I'm not there saying we should have the right to bear arms. I'm going, no, we used to have the right to bear arms, and as far as I'm concerned, it's no longer in place. These are the reasons why. This is a bit of the history to it. But so many people going like, why would we want to be like America? And I'm like, who the fuck said we wanted to be? You know, it's like, it's just anti-gunners who not only can't they read, they obviously can't. Well, I guess they've got their carer to write the comment for them. They obviously can't watch a fucking video without throwing a fit. But yeah, anyhow, there are some other topics. We've usually I end up getting onto the other topics a lot quicker than this. It's been an education tonight, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys sort of telling me how it is out in the States. M&P 1522 come with full auto. I wish. Not in the UK. America, yeah. 30,000 out of 40,000 gun deaths here in the States are suicide. Yes, that's you know, I do quote that quite a lot to people, not those specific numbers, but you know, when you take into account suicide. In the UK, the outright majority, consistently year on year, of firearms deaths are done by illegal firearms as well. You know, so whenever anybody says legal guns lead to crime, you go, no, they don't. You know, and the figure that I use all the time, 40% of all firearm offences in the UK are still committed with handguns. But banning handguns worked. Obviously. US has high deaths because we have the gangsters, yeah, you know. Well, you just ban all the guns and then it would just be stabbings, right? It'd be like London. No guns in the Vatican. It would be more interesting if they were all arms. I mean, that's really why they've got those robes. Like, it's the ultimate, like, concealed carry, isn't it? Like, I can imagine just the Pope at night just taking off his robe and he's got, like, 2 MP5s, like, you know, shoulder rigged onto him, like, dangling by the arms, like, wish someone would. That's now going to be. I need somebody to make that image real. But the Vatican does actually have a lot of guns. They actually have an armory, and there's no way that the Vatican doesn't have armed security as well. Like there are guns in the Vatican. Like someone's twisted those figures. There's about 2,000 gun murders per year, and that is all gang related. Some different numbers being quoted. Eric, 2.7 million, 6th column. Yep. Yeah, I did the long way on that one, didn't I? Yeah, I know. The thing is, when you break it down in terms of like, there is a, like, it's proportional. Like, it is, like, to I ended up sitting down and working out, like, the ratio of gun crime, gun deaths, gun ownership, population and stuff like this, and it was like, well, yeah, if you have more people, there are going to be more deaths. In the States it was higher, and a lot of people say, well, that's because there's more guns, but it's not. It's disproportionately lower. So whilst America has like 100 times the guns, it's like the figures, there's not an exact correlation, which sort of disproves anything that it's about the guns. If it was about, you know, if more guns meant more crime, there would be some correlation there, and there isn't, because other factors are at play, you know, like mental health, you know, like people's well-beings, you know, poverty, things like that, education. Callum, you need to make your own organisation for practical shooters. Now BASC sucks. The UK PSA, like the UK PSA, are doing a pretty, like, yeah, they're probably not as vocal and maybe politically charged in a way as myself, but they're still doing a bloody good job. Like, you know, they do push back on a lot of things. They do, as an organisation, they are quite forward thinking. Yes, there's always room for improvement, but yeah, I've said it loads of times with the organisation. Like, yeah, if I felt that I would like to believe it would make a difference, but there are other organisations, and it's a lot of time, and I wouldn't want to do it half-heartedly. Maybe in a few years. Yeah, even more poor living conditions, more crime. Like, absolutely, you can't regulate free will. Yeah, because people, you know, because before guns were invented, there was never a murder, right? You know, have you ever heard of a rock? It just goes to show how arrogant and unwilling to learn people are. Yes, and this is, I mean, to be fair, we can be our sort of own worst enemies on this, because I've seen it many times where, you know, we're passionate, we're very you're either, you know, if you're an American, you might be very passionate Second Amendment, you know, vote very pro sort of self-defense. You might just be a very passionate firearm enthusiast, you know, a firearms owner, and passionate about guns, passionate about sport. There's a lot of passion around guns, right? And sometimes I think that hinders us, because when we get into a discussion, it is passionate, it can be heated, and I think people sometimes get overwhelmed by it, and it goes, you know, all of this, oh, you know, every guy that owns a gun, or every person that owns a gun is a raving nutter, and then you get really passionate in your discussion and you end up looking like a raving nutter. I don't think that helps. I'm not saying any of you guys do this, but I have seen it happen. You just have a chilled conversation. You don't get angry about it. Like, people are entitled to their views and opinions. Doesn't mean they're right, but people are entitled to it, and whether or not they're wrong, right? So you've got to respect that they have their views and opinions. You don't know if somebody's whole family have been massacred by legal gun owners, right? I know a bit of a weird and out there scenario, but it's okay, let's just take Dunblane, right? That's probably the easiest, most known scenario. A parent of Dunblane is always going to see guns different, right? It's just, you're never going to fight. You're never going to get over that, right? But that's also why they shouldn't be allowed to influence lawmaking, because it's gone past fact. It's pure emotion. I don't. You know, I've not yet have had the experience of having my own children, so it's not something that I can comprehend at this point. But I would imagine there's probably no greater emotion than losing a child, right? You can't reason, you can't argue, you can't debate, you can't necessarily discuss with that. And I certainly think it's a very dangerous way of making laws to rely on that. But you know, so you see, basically, you don't know people's backgrounds, you don't know how passionate they are either way. Just stay calm with them. You know, I use this. I use this story all the time. I've said it loads of times. I got a taxi back. I'd come back from work. I'd done a work trip, flown into Heathrow, got a taxi back, and it was like an hour and a half journey, right down to Portsmouth. And I got in and started talking to the guy, and you know, it became very, you know, I naturally get onto the conversation of guns very quickly with most people, and we got onto the question of on the subject of guns, and he was actually quite inquisitive, and he was very honest, and he looked up and he said, look, like, before we sort of get into this discussion, like, I just want to let you know, like, I think all guns should be banned. And I, you know, I wasn't angry at that. It was like, I was more intrigued. I was like, okay, well, let's talk about it. Why? Like, just why do you have that opinion? Why do you have, you know, why is that your thought on it? You know, and he explained, you know, a few bits, and I said, well, actually, on that point, this is how it is. Like, this, you know, we have to do this, that we have to have a safe, or it's all done like this. And, oh, okay. and you just get into a conversation. But the moment you start getting defensive, or you start getting aggressive or angry or sort of over passionate about it, that's when the other people they are just going to switch off. So I think sometimes we do need to tone it down. I know that's a bit rich coming from me, but when you're trying to, convert somebody, you just stick to the facts, and you stay calm and you stay polite, and maybe you have an hour and a half conversation with a person and they still think the exact same as they did before. At least there's a good chance they're going to go away slightly better educated, so at least they're not going to, hopefully fall in the same trap of, saying the same media spiel about guns and all that. So yeah, people can be brought round, and this guy did. We pulled up to my house and he said, "Look, as I said, I thought all guns should be banned. You have actually changed my mind. You have." And he was like, "Look, I would actually advocate for having handguns back here." He was like, "The caveat is that they should be kept at a club, but now that you've explained it, actually, I'd be all for that. So you can do it." Manku Man, not much. It's an English shooting live stream. It's just chatting the shit, isn't it? You can watch it on playback. We've talked about the first guns. We have ascertained that, of course, you should just go and buy a Chris Vector for your first gun. It is obviously the ultimate 2.2 semi-automatic rifle. No. So we talked about first guns, and we've actually been talking a lot about American law and buying guns, which it's been really interesting and educational for me. Mr. Pips, if I stab someone, no, bad Mr. Pips. We don't want that. That's not going to help. I mean, it could be worse. You could shoot them, but silver lining and all. Makes sense why knives are really high with murders, because they are a more silent way of killing someone. What are you guys on this evening? Assault rifle is a real term used incorrectly. Absolutely, yeah, there are such things as assault. As a gunshot would make us please stop talking about fucking murdering people. Why? Oh. Down, boys, down. Take your medicine. He's a twat. That could refer to a lot of people. It will help if he gets them all. Right. Come on, guys, press the like button. Yes, absolutely. What Andy says. Hit the like button. It's free. It won't hurt. It makes me very happy. And it helps the channel grow, so we can reach more people. We can convert them onto the world of shooting and everything guns. So basically, by liking, you're helping to grow the sport. That's how I like to think of it. Stephen, you said that when you have a Section 5 firearm in a slot, and let's say you are at Bisley, can you just pop in? The whole range has to be locked down, you said in that video. Yeah, Section 5 is another ball game. Section 5, Bisley is a Section 5 range, but they will not allow somebody with Section 5 to just turn up to a range. They lock it down, and I guess what that specific case is actually Section 7.3 that I was talking about, where they lock the range, because again, nobody without a Section 7.3 should be on that range because of the legalities of it. You mentioned in one of your videos about Basque having 5 million saved and not helping to try get handguns and semi-autos back. Really pissed me off. Having paid for 4 years. Yes, there's a lot of people that were pissed off by that. I can assure you. I don't think I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure I didn't say 5 million. So it goes back to this 7-figure fighting fund. So basically, Basque, I spoke to Christopher Graffius who is the communications director for Basque, because he completely denies that Basque stopped doing legal protection insurance or legal expenses insurance in order to have this £1 million fighting fund. Now, I say it's £1 million fighting fund. I'm pretty sure that somewhere they've said it's 7 figures. It could be 5 million, it could be 9 million, it could be 1 million, 2 million, whatever. It's at least £1 million. But it was really coincidental that this fighting fund suddenly appeared after dropping this legal expenses insurance, which was costing them like £1 million a year. And I said to Christopher, I was like, but this is what you've done. You've dropped something for the members that actually most of the members that I speak to are members for. So, they've joined Basque specifically for the legal expenses insurance. You've now removed that. And suddenly there's £1 million or this 7-figure fighting fund. I was like, it doesn't take a genius to work out that you've cut the cost here and now you're using it here. Well, that's not what we've done at all. I was like, it's like that money's come from somewhere else. I was like, I'm sorry, right? In any business, right, you save money here and you start spending it here, even if like you've taken it from another fund there. The reason that you have that £1 million is because you've saved it over here. It's as long as it is fucking short, right? And he's like, no, that's not, no, we've got it from somewhere else. It was like, so what are you doing with that £1 million that you've saved from the insurance then? Well, it's just going to go back to the members' interests, isn't it? Yeah, like this 7-figure fighting fund. Oh, no, it's definitely not being used for that. I was like, stop treating me like a fucking idiot, right? And so, yes, that's basically what they did. Basque, I have to caveat that Basque denies this, but we all know they stopped something that people really needed for something that they can choose what to use it on. And that was the biggest issue overall. Don't get me wrong, this 7-figure £1 million fighting fund will be put to good use, right? It is having this £1 million fund to just like take on challenges and potentially win with that sort of money behind it will do some good, right? But again, we all know this was all around the time that Chris Packham was kicking up a fuss and game shooting was under threat and this and general licenses. And you knew that is exactly what they had done. They'd gone, shit, we need a load of money to protect the game industry, to challenge these legal challenges. Like I think somewhere it said they'd already spent £50,000 or £100,000 on one like Chris Packham legal battle straight away. So their 7-figure £1 million fighting fund is now only 900,000, and Chris Packham's still at it, so that's going to dwindle away quickly. So yeah, it was like this really suspicious like circumstances of, wait, here's a potential threat to the game industry. Shit, we need some money. What we're going to do is we're going to start this fund that we can use as at our discretion when we want for whatever we want. And, we're just coincidentally going to stop our legal expenses insurance, which is going to save us £1 million. No one will ever put it together. So anyway, that's my interpretation of what happened. And yes, it will. My issue is that it's like before every member was equal, like you all had that legal expenses insurance. Now they get to choose. They get to choose which issues or which cases are deemed significant enough, right? And onto your point, Flying King, like yes, they should 100% be spending a good bloody chunk of that fighting fund for trying to get handguns back, right? But they won't, because all Basque are interested in is protecting game. We know that now. When you go on to their, let's do it. Like I'm happy to be proven wrong here. It happens quite a lot. Let's go on to their Facebook page, and I can say now that every other post will be like a game meat post, right? It will be about cooking delicious game meat. And no, I haven't previously looked at it just to check this. I'm just, I do follow them. Let's bring this up, right? Well, certainly every other post will be about game, like that's a given. So Basque Council elections. Oh, game meat. We're going to be talking about this in a second. This is this is one of these things where it's either really, really good or it's really, really bad. But we'll get onto that. So not game meat. This we're going to be talking about this in a minute as well. This is like genuine, like big news. Well, game bird release license. We are going to be talking about this as well. So, well, it's game and wildlife, but not necessarily game meat. They're AGM. Yep, game meat, cooking. Lead band ammunition. Yeah, but you wish you hadn't started that one, Bask. Amber Hill, this is some big news, of course. Maybe I should just do this every week, just go through Bask's news. Silver in the ISSF World Cup. So congratulations, Amber Hill. She does a fantastic job of representing us. Game meat, Amber Hill. If every other post was Amber Hill, I wouldn't be so unhappy. Just saying. So firearms, countryside workshop, something about campaign. Oh, we've had a bit of a break of game meat here. Oh, there's the game fair, information hub, general licenses, AGM. There's a lack of game meat now. They were proving me right so well. Game meat. There we go. Like you get the point. Oh, game meat. Like you get the point. There is, like, please tell me how many posts you've seen about sport shooting, right? And again, like if Bass came out and said, look, we're all about the game, we're all about the hunting, that's our thing, but they don't. They say they represent all shooters, right? I'm not seeing a good proportion of sport shooting being represented here. AGM, podcast, game meat. It's like tone down the game meat. Just tone it down and maybe represent the sport shooters a little bit more. Anyway, that's enough bashing for this stream. You have to wait till next week for some more. Actually, in other news, BASC have appointed a new head of firearms. So for those of you that don't know, BASC, this is one of the big selling points of BASC. Legal expenses, insurance aside, they have an incredibly knowledgeable and very experienced team of sort of firearms experts, right? And from forensics to firearm law to police to licensing, so on and so forth, right? It is a very good resource, and I have to be honest, it's a resource that I do miss. I do miss being able to like phone them up and go, what do you think about this? I'm not saying that necessarily their advice is always right, because it certainly hasn't been in my case, but there's no other team or really organisation that you can do that. And that's, yes, I would still like that ability, but I'm not giving them any more of my money. But they have appointed a new head of firearms for BASC. It's a guy called I think Martin Parker. The really interesting thing, and actually I'm going to go and find it just so I can. Oh no, I've got it. I've actually got the main page. Let's bring that up. So Martin Parker, where is it? Let's bring this up. Appointed as head of firearms at BASC. A fairly significant and big position, right? Nothing too suspicious now. Forensic scientist Martin Parker has been appointed as BASC's new head of firearms. Martin joins BASC from the National Ballistics Intelligence Service, where he held the role of chief scientist. National Ballistics Intelligence Service, if you didn't know, is what the acronym NABIS stands for. NABIS is like I'm trying to give like an American equivalent here. They are the reason we don't have Mars or leave release actions. They're the reason that 50 cals almost got banned. Like, NABIS is the greatest threat to gun ownership in the UK by far, right? Meanwhile, the NCA are just telling people that owning an illegal firearm is a crime, so we just let them carry on doing that. That's rather harmless in a way. But this, like, I haven't done a lot of research on Martin Parker. I don't want to discredit him. Don't want to like slander him in any way. Like, I am sure he's very qualified, very experienced, very talented at what he does. What gives me the heebie-jeebies is that he has come from NABUS. Now, the reason this could be really, really good is because he could give some insight. Again, you know, he comes from chief scientist. So, you know, was he previously involved in, you know, like the new legislation? Was he part of the team calling for new legislation? I don't know. But he could definitely give some insight in terms of what guns they are targeting, how they go about it, you know, where's the biggest threat in terms of new laws and restrictions. But the thing that really scares me, and that could be really bad, is that, like, I'm not to say as far as he's a plant, but he's come from NABUS that obviously have a very dim sort of anti-gun view, pro-gun control, less guns the better. And now he's gone and worked for BASA. And this is, again, I don't want to discredit or sort of besmirch any people that work for BASA, but there are a lot of ex-police officers, and it's come up in discussion many times. Let's bring my beautiful face back there. It's come up in discussion with many different people, and there's loads of people that have the same thought about this. That, wait, the police spend pretty much their whole career very anti-gun, because if police are ever involved in guns, right, normal, you know, beat bobbies or traffic cops, if they're involved in, you know, with a gun, it's usually pretty bad. So they have quite a negative perception, and then they go to BASA, right? And there is, I have heard as people going as far to say there's a greater conspiracy that the police and NABUS and all this are trying to get as many people into BASA because it sort of makes BASA more compliable, sort of more malleable to what the police and NABUS want to do. So there is that fear. And again, I like their team, you know, they're very, you can't really, I wouldn't want to discredit them like that, but there are a lot of people that have that sort of sentiment, right? And for a chief scientist to come from NABUS and go and work for BASA, like, you've got to ask a few questions there. Like, it doesn't just sit entirely right. I could be completely wrong. He could give some really good insight, and be a real sort of crown jewel in BASA's ability to protect against further restrictions and further laws. I'm just very nervy about it. So we have to see how that goes sort of long term. So yeah, we have to see. But it's I mean, they say, you know, Martin is well known and respected within law enforcement and government agencies. That doesn't sound good for us. Like, BASA selling that. I'll bring that up. It's in this article. You can go and check out this article. It's on BASA's website. Yeah, Martin is well known and respected within law enforcement and government agencies. Yeah, BASA, you're trying to sell that like that's a good thing, right? That's no. He's also held in high regard by the shooting organisations he has come into contact with on working groups and committees. So, you know, it sounds like there is some sort of vote of confidence there. And, you know, I'm sure BASA wouldn't knowingly employ someone that was going to be like a stout anti-gunner. Like, they might have a really good sneaky plan about this, but yeah, it's still, I don't know. That's him, by the way, Martin Parker. So yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. But when I read that, I was like, wait, BASA has employed someone from NABUS. Like, do they not see the obvious danger there? I don't know. Let me know what you think about it. Sounds like ATF got a dog. I got two. I know, right? I don't want NABUS around here. I was gonna say ATF, but then NABUS doesn't have guns. Like, what they do, because they do a lot of forensics examinations, but they don't. Like, NABUS aren't the ones that kick in your house and shoot your dog. I guess like the equivalent of the ATF. I guess it would be the NCA here. Like, the NCA is sort of like, I guess, like the ATF, FBI, in that regard. They're like really top serious level, like criminals and all that. Or maybe it's like Border Force is more ATF. I don't know. not really wanting to get into it. I've had a hard time because of it, but they concluded I'm not suitable. Sorry, I missed your earlier messages about that. Unfortunately, it was refused. So, well, I'm sorry. I know what it's like to have an application refused. Well, technically, I have never had an application refused, but you know, I can sympathise. If you've got to fight the system, what better way to do it than with a poacher turned gamekeeper? Yes, like, and I get that, like I do, and I think, you know, in some ways it could be an absolute genius move by BASA to get people in from Nabis on board, so because then they're not doing it for Nabis, but still, you know, we have to wait and see. I have absolute respect for law enforcement, but I hate the ATF. Like, from what I see online, like, most law enforcement hate the ATF. Oh, there was that video that did the rounds, didn't they? Where oh god, I got to bring it up because you got to watch it. It is like, there were so many people. It was just like ultimate justice porn for some people. ATF agent gets arrested. This is the video. I'll bring it up for you guys. ATF agent tased, arrested at gunpoint by Columbus police. New body cam footage. So I won't. I'll bring it up, but obviously we're not going to sit and watch the whole of it. But the long or the short of it, if you haven't seen this video, so apparently this guy. Like there's this whole thing about it. Basically this ATF guy, he's drawn the gun, like zero fucks. This ATF guy has gone to a house because he believes that the woman's got this is it. So this is the officer that's turned up. So the guy, the body cam that you're seeing, this is the police, and the guy stood here mimicking Jesus is the ATF agent. So I mean, it's hard to tell because there's no dead dogs around him. But he's gone to seize a gun or like try and arrest someone or whatever over this illegal firearm. And the woman's like, no, fuck off. And the guy's like, no, I'm ATF. Like, you've got to open the door. And the woman's like, no. So she calls the police. And this guy isn't, like, he is a genuine ATF agent, but the way he handles the situation with the police, he does not comply. Like, this police officer's turned up to the scene, and all the police officer knows is that the woman has reported somebody claiming to be an ATF agent. Like, the officer doesn't know this, right? The officer has to treat this guy like, you know, a potential criminal. Well, he's an ATF agent, so it wouldn't be too far away. So the guy just does not comply at any point, right? And he's like, I'm an ATF agent, I'm an FT, and he's like, I don't know that. Like, if you're actually an agent, you're going to know that I have to now do my job and ascertain who the fuck you are. And he ends up getting tased, and it's like, it's a long video, all in all, but he's just, he's such a little bitch about it. And it's just one of these where he, like, when he gets tased, you're like, yes, like, do it again. Yeah, and it was all, you know, I think at one point he came out with the standard line of, you know, do you know who I am, or, you know, like, I could have your job taken away, and the officer's like, whatever. So yeah, that's definitely one to go and watch. One of the biggest pains in the arse for current ATS is former ATF agent that has proven in court their definition of an AR receiver is BS. I believe it would be easier to get a shotgun certificate in Scotland than an air gun, but it really isn't an option. Should watch Donut Operating. He goes, he does great breakdowns of these body cam videos. I'm subscribed to Donut Operator. And I have to say, like, I don't watch a lot of shooting YouTube. I actually watch, like, the two main genres of YouTube that I watch are cars and watches. Like, because my job is guns, like, when I come home and I want to, like, chill out, it's sort of like the last thing I want to do is, like, do more guns. Like I need some time to like where my head isn't in sort of the realm of guns. And yeah, cars and watches, cars, watches, and guns. There's a lot of people that those three like really people. There seems to be a commonality between those three interests. But anyway, cat videos. Now I have to say I'm not a huge cat video person. I mean, funny cats. I always got time for funny cats. We'll always watch that one. And also the bear getting tranquilized out of a tree to the trampoline. I nearly died. Yeah, watches, as in wristwatches. I'm a bit of a horologist. And only if you pay me. I just like watches. It's like, well, I love watches. You say you're making me doubt myself now. Like this is some weird hobby. No, it's a great. I don't. Anyway, why do you wear your watch on your right hand, and what watch are you wearing? Because I'm a bit of a spaz, really. I am right-handed, but since I first started wearing a watch, it just feels more comfortable on my right hand, and it's a real shame because it means that I bugger the clasp of all the watches because I do everything with my right hand. And what I have on is a Rolex Milgauss, which I bought. I've had it for 4 or 5 years now. Absolutely, it's not a typical. I'd say like typical Rolex because it's got. I'll bring a picture up because I won't do it justice on the. Let's bring that up. Yeah, so I bought it. So the thing about the Milgauss, and this is the thing, is like a lot of people, there is the unfortunate like sort of stigma of, oh, people buy expensive watches just to be flashy. Like I'm one of these genuine guys that I appreciate the craftsmanship behind it. I appreciate the time and the design and the history of it. And I actually remade this watch. They originally made this watch for scientists. Let's bring this up. So that's it. So it's special for a number of reasons. First of all, like you will never see a hand like that, second hand, the lightning bolt, on any other Rolex. It's got this green glass, so you can see sort of around the ridge there. It's got this green glass. You won't see that on any other Rolex as well, and the blue face as well. It's a very unique look, and not sort of stereotypical of the look of a Rolex. And the reason I got it was because they bought this. So they released them back in, I think it was like the 1950s, around, like it was a bloody long time ago, and it was for scientists and engineers. Because mechanical watches, and for those, I'm going to try and give you a crash course in watches. Mechanical watches are actually in a way quite fragile. Certainly if you get them magnetized, because they use very delicate and small springs and mechanisms. If you end up magnetizing the watch, it can damage it and lose time. Fun fact, a £20 Casio will always be more accurate and keep better time than the most expensive like Rolex out there, right? But it's the mechanical, so within mechanical movement, you have different types of power. So you can have a self wind, so where you have to physically wind the watch up every day, otherwise it loses power. You have an automatic, which is what the Milgauss is. There's a basically what's the bloody name of it? There's basically a weight in the back of it that as you move your arm, it's winding up the spring. So that's why it's automatic, because you don't have to wind it up yourself. If you put it down, that's why you also see watch winders. So you'll see watches rotating in these cases, and it's to keep the watches going. But if one of those, you don't wear a watch for a few days, it will run out of power. Then you have to sort of self wind it again. But anyway. So Milgauss was developed for scientists working in like high, scientists being exposed to high levels of magnetism, and the Milgauss stands for milligauss. Gauss obviously standing for, it's the unit of magnetism. It wasn't a popular watch back then. You could pick them up really cheap, like dealers couldn't get rid of them back when they first released it. Now, like an original box and papers Milgauss will set you back probably north of sort of 30 to 40,000 pound, depending on condition. It could go even higher. And then when they re-released it, and they actually re-released it for the physicists at CERN, because obviously the Large Hadron Collider, it's a big fucking magnet, and oh, excuse me. So the scientists couldn't wear mechanical watches around these magnets, so Rolex brought out the Milgauss again, and it actually has almost like a Faraday cage around it. So usually with watches, you can just pop the back off and you'll see the movement. With a Milgauss, you can't. There's actually a second skin or a second case. And of course, I graduated with a degree in electronic engineering. My first role out of university was as a electronic hardware engineer. So there was a synergy of, it's Milgauss, it's got a Thunderbolt hand, it's for, physicists working on CERN. And I bought it with my first bonus because I was like, what else am I going to do with it? Like, save it? So yeah, I bought that. My first nice watch was actually a Tag Heuer Accuracer Calibre S Lewis Hamilton edition. I'm a big F1 Lewis Hamilton fan. That kept breaking, and it wasn't a particularly cheap watch, and that was I think it was an 18th birthday present from my parents, but it kept breaking, so it kept getting sent back, and I ended up getting a really good deal. They gave me the money back for that. It was bought from the Tag Boutique in Bicester Village. Really good deals there. If you ever want to buy a Tag Heuer, go to Bicester Village, or you won't find them cheaper than that. And they gave me like a stellar discount on a Carrera. So it's a brown face Carrera. You might have seen it in other older videos. Love that watch as well. Again, sort of synergy with racing. So yeah, I love the history, and I watch loads of watch videos. If you want to learn more about if you want to learn specifically more about the buying, trading, and like the economy of watches, the Timepiece Gentleman or Roman Sharaf are great to watch in terms of like the history. Or you'll pick up loads of history just from watching those two guys. Like Roman Sharaf is really good in terms of breaking down the backstory of a watch and all this. And it's it's mechanical. It's like a gun, right? You don't necessarily have to go and wear a watch or shoot a gun to appreciate the mechanical the mechanical nature of it. So yeah, CERN scientists flexing with the Rollies, yeah. And they're almost I say almost, they are investments, right? And it's hard to like talk about like Swiss watches and obviously there's a monetary aspect. But if you're going to go and buy a nice watch, right, or you're going to go and buy something nice, like there's always, I just can't get it out of my head that, right, how do I minimize the loss here, right? If I'm going to like splurge, and you've got to, you can treat them as investments, but you should really treat them as expensive toys. But if I can mitigate or reduce the potential loss on an expensive toy, then that will come into my purchasing decision. So for instance, the Milgauss is worth more secondhand than what I paid for it new. So to me, it's like I've got a free watch basically. If I ever want to sell it, I can get my money back. There's other watches like it's basically you're pretty much any Rolex, it's always going to hold its money. There are some that you definitely should buy secondhand. And the reason is because Rolex are very, very crafty with their marketing and their supply and demand, right? They could be making a lot more watches than they are. They certainly could be releasing a lot more watches into the market, but they don't, because it keeps the market strong for them, and they're very good at it. Rolex is one of the most recognizable known brands in the world for a reason. So if you walk into a dealer and ask for a Submariner, you will be laughed at. They've actually shut the waiting list for Submariners, and I think it's gone up to like a 7-year wait. So if you can't go into a shop and buy a Submariner, it means that you have to go to the second-hand market, which pushes the second-hand prices up. The Milgauss, when I bought it, like every shop I went into, you could get one. Blue face, green glass, no issue whatsoever. Couple of years after getting it, disappeared, and right now there's a waiting list for it, which has pushed the second-hand value above that of the new. And for a specific example, if any of you ever get offered a white face ceramic Daytona, basically a brand new stainless steel white face Daytona from a shop at retail price, buy it and thank me later. So retail, I think they're about £10,500. Last time I checked, they were trading second hand, or on the second hand market, for £24,000. So I shit you not, you walk into a Rolex dealer, you buy a watch for £10,000, you walk out, you make £12,000 profit without you go to a watch buyer, they will pay you a 10 grand premium for it. It's absolutely nuts. So there is investment, there's money to be sort of made, so that piques my interest, and you get to have something that's nice, and I appreciate the the mechanical nature of it, the history of it, and all this. Just like with guns, it's like that's why, and cars as well, the mechanical nature of cars, the history of cars and things like that. It's just, it all goes very well together. Anyway, back onto guns. Rolex versus Porsche versus Dogecoin. Funny enough, I don't actually have any cryptocurrency. It's just one of those things, like if I'm going to put my money into something, like I want to understand it. Like that's why I don't mind spending money on watches or cars, because I spend a lot of time understanding it. Like crypto, I've never put the time into it, and I just wouldn't, maybe for a laugh, but I bought Game, no, what is it? Was it GameStop? What, the one that went to the moon? I bought at the wrong time, sold at the wrong time. That's, again, stock market. You need to do your research on. The Milgauss is one of the nicest Rolexes. Well, I would agree. It's just different. I like there is, like, I know this is so stereotypical because like I have a Rolex and I also have a Porsche, but like they do all look the same, right? And there is also a stigma on both of those brands, which has actually always put me off the brands. But when you learn more about it, and when you actually go and get one in your hands, or you go and drive one, you're like, okay, this is why the enthusiasts like them, right? And the enthusiasts like what is it, chicken and egg? Like, do the enthusiast knows it's a good product, so therefore the people that want to sort of be flashy and buy something good just follow suit, and then it ends up being like a flashy and show off brand. But yeah, I never, like, if you'd have asked me 10 years ago, I would have said there's no bloody way I'm ever spending a penny on a Rolex, because it's just got this bad stigma to it. Same with Porsche, and then again you learn more about it, you go and experience it, and then you're like, oh, okay, right, this is what it's all about. Apocalypse game, or what are you guys talking about? I use the same philosophy when buying my guns. Even though I plan to never sell them, I like buying guns that I know will be worth worth more a little later. Like, absolutely, like, don't get me wrong, like, you should always buy something that you want. Like, don't, unless you are getting into it specifically for an investment purpose, like, you need to enjoy, there's no point buying something specifically for an investment purpose if you don't actually like it. Like, I like to enjoy my things, but yeah, guns is a good example as well. Like, take the Beretta Silver Pigeon. I think I worked out I ended up paying like 1,250, maybe £1,300 for my Beretta Silver Pigeon, and like now retail of them are like £1,700-1,800 for a sporter model. Give it another year or two, they'll be at the £2,000 mark, and again it just brings up the second hand market. So I probably wouldn't lose that much. Again, not that I'd ever sell my Beretta Silver Pigeon, I probably wouldn't actually lose that much on it. For a gun that is now, was getting on for like nearly 10 years old, it's like 9 years old now. I might even be able to get like what I paid for it back. So yeah, like, you can do the same things with guns, you can do the same things with cars. And funnily enough, the new version of my car was voted the least depreciating car out there. So it's like a story. When I bought a like my first like nice car for me. It was like a dream car for me at that point, which was a Renault Clio Sport. It was the RS 200 model, cup chassis, Recaro buckets, for anyone that knows what I'm talking about. Absolutely love that car. And I bought it from like a prestige dealership, and he actually stocked the Clios for his clients' toys. Right, it was like something they bought to chuck in the garage and take round and like thrash around a track. But usually his clients would buy, you know, Ferraris, Astons, Porsches, and all that, Bentleys, Rolls, and that's predominantly what his showroom was. So he was taking me round, and I was like I came here to buy a Clio, and now I'm like looking at fucking Ferraris and Porsches. Like I didn't expect this. And he pointed to this. It was a Ferrari 360. It was like a light blue one. Not my choice of color, but and he was like, he said I sold this car to the customer that I've just bought it off of, and it was something like I sold it to him for like £60,000. I've just bought it from him to sell for like £65,000-70,000, and it's up there for like 75-80 or something like that, like rough nut. I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was something like that. And he's like, the guy sat down, so the guy that had like bought the Ferrari from him had sat down and worked out what he had spent on servicing, what he had spent on like I think even like MOTs and insurance and maybe even fuel, but like any costs probably aside from insurance as well, breakdown cover. And you know, because Ferrari, like again, this is another thing, like with Ferraris, like you've got to have the paperwork. It's like the paperwork adds a lot of value to the car. So he'd kept all the receipts, he tallied it all up, and because he had sold it for obviously more than what he had paid for it, he worked out that he had made money owning it. Even when you take off Ferrari servicing, like he had effectively been paid to buy a Ferrari, you know. And it's like, it was at that moment that I was like, I should take note of this, like, you know. And this was around, you know, when did I buy it? Oh, it was around 2014, 2015, I think. And it's, you know, so I think around the time like you were getting nobble for interest in the bank. So, you know, if you're sat there and you've got $500,000 in the bank, $1 million in the bank, and you're in a comfortable position, well, that $1 million in the bank is not making you any money. So you go and buy a £100,000 Ferrari, like maybe it goes down 10k over a few years, maybe it goes up 10k a few years, but the money, it's not really costing you anything to take it out of the bank, certainly if it retains its value. So yeah, you can do that with guns, you can do that with watches, you can do that with cars. It's a very dangerous game. But yeah, it's another element to it, you know. Instead of just enjoying the driving of a car, or you know, the history of a car, the market, you know, what the market's doing with it and things like that. Anyway, this I promise this is a gun channel. Like it does say, you know, the best all-round first gun, you know, best all-round first Ferrari. Shall we get back on? Well, you seem to be enjoying it, so McLaren for the win. I'd love a McLaren, like obviously a P1. I think that's pretty generic. I'd love a 675 LT. Since they launched that, it's just like, I think that's when McLaren really, they had just like gone, yeah, we know what we're doing now, and they just dropped the 675 LT, and it just went nuts. Silver Pigeon, Rolexes, and a Porsche. You have expensive taste, bruv. Work hard, play hard. You know, it's I mean, like the Silver Pigeon really isn't like a really expensive gun. Like I know it's still like £1,500-1,700. It's still a lot of money, although I paid less than that for mine. But you know, you can go and spend, you know, £50,000 on a shotgun, and you can go and spend, I mean, there's, you know, some, you know, watches. I mean, the most expensive watch ever sold was a Rolex Daytona. They call it the Paul Newman. So there's a very particular look of Daytona, which is known as the Paul Newman Daytona. Well, Paul Newman's Daytona, it went up to auction and it sold for something like 15 million. It's like the most expensive watch ever sold, and it's just because of the provenance of it, of who owned it, what watch it was. So yeah, the sky's the limit on anything, and it's sort of all relative. You know, as of yet, I still don't have my first house, so perhaps my priorities are not in order. You know, some people prioritize the house first and then they buy the nice things afterwards. But you can't take it with you. And also I don't have any kids, so you know, it's the two most expensive things you can do: buy a house and have kids. Haven't yet done, so I'm making the most of it while I can. You want a 308 GTB? Yes, that's the one with the scoop, isn't it? The front bonnet scoop, I think. I'm not a huge Ferrari guy. Oh no, okay, yeah, I know which one that is now. Yeah, nice choice. Yeah, I'd take one. I wouldn't say no. What would be my favourite Ferrari? I mean, you know, I could be really just generic and say a LaFerrari, but I always liked the look of the the F430. Okay, there's so many bloody numbers and letters in them. The F430, which have actually like come down. Well, they're going up in price now, but they did hit a bit of a low point in recent years. I guess it was around the time where I was, you know, I guess a teen or a young kid, and it's just that shape. It's the 330s, sorry, 360s. They for me, they're starting to look a little bit old. Like they're very curvy, which I guess is like the classic look of a Ferrari. But the 430 is when like Ferrari started getting a bit more angular, like a bit more, let's say, like scientific and nerdy with their cars. Like downforce became like a really big thing. Like a 430 Scuderia or Speciale, like I'd be more than happy with one of those. Obviously, like a 250. Yeah, I'd go for one of those any day. Anyway, we try and get onto guns. You should have bought the Dartford Rangers and let everyone shoot there rather than kicking the club out. Yeah, yeah. I don't have that sort of money. F40. You know, sorry. How can I be so silly? The F40 is actually one sec. The F40 is my favourite Ferrari. Because I saw that in Tesco's and I just had to. Because I've got the little Porsche behind, I've got the Chiron, so I'm sort of growing a car collection of Lego, right? You've got to start small. The 430 would be in my, like, yeah, it would be in the top 3 garage, top 5 garage, top 10 garage. Like I would just, 100% I would get the F40 because it's the rawness, and that's why I love the GT4 as well. It's like, you know, it's manual. Okay, it's actually turbocharged, so in terms of purity, it's not and naturally aspirated. But it's like Ferrari were bonkers when they, you know, that was just back in the days of we're going to put a really big engine and a really big turbo with stupendous turbo lag, but when it comes on boost, you will fucking know about it. You know, like those cars are ridiculously difficult to drive. Like you watch any videos of them, like you have to wear racing shoes, you have to wear driving shoes because the pedals are too close together. The steering's ridiculously heavy. There is no driver aid, but you've got this stonking engine and stonking turbo, you know, to a manual gearbox, and it's like it's all on you. So yeah. Anyway, F40 would be there. This live stream is too rich for me. Join, do you mind? You know, I can give you some tips and tricks. Again, like go and get on the waiting list for a Rolex sub or a Daytona or even a Milgauss. You can thank me later. Hey Callum, is it possible to collect World War II guns in England? Absolutely. So age has nothing to do with it, and neither does caliber. It's all about the mechanism. So any World War II gun that is a bolt action, you can own in any caliber. Well, as long as it's got a barrel over 12 inches and an overall length of 24 inches. But apart from that, any bolt action in any caliber you could own. Why does Magload sponsor the person who kicked the Dartford club out? Not really a good look. Oh dear. If I'm going to be really boring, this is probably, if I'm gonna like put my mag load cap on for a minute, I'd probably have to go no comment. It's a very difficult subject, so thank you for touching on that one. So Michelle, who was responsible, in whichever way you want to look at it, responsible for kicking out Harlowtown Rifle Pistol Club. Michelle has been a part of Magload well before I have, right? So you've got to bear that in mind. Well before all of the issues that she's had with the UK PSA, and well before the range. Michelle was one of the sort of first shooters to use Magload gear, and also being a very good shooter, and very respected for that on the circuit. So for Connors to get Magload gear into her hands, she had a big part in growing Magload in the beginning, and still today. There's a video of her doing backflips on a trampoline with the Nexus, the original Nexus, and not a single cartridge is going flying. Like, that video alone has probably sold us like at least 20 or 30 loaders, or before I came on board, sold Connors them. So she has been a big part of it, and yes, she can be quite divisive, but so can I, right? You could probably ask the same question of, why does Connors associate himself with me? That's not a good look, right? I could understand that there are many things that are divisive, but we sort of have this conversation quite well, not quite regularly, but we do have this conversation of, overall, I would say I am a net gain to Magload, and I think as begrudging as it would be for Connors to say that, he would admit that as well. That overall, I'm an overall positive on the company, despite my flaws, and we stand by Michelle on that. Like, yes, is she the most popular person? No. Do we 100% agree with what she's doing? No, but we're not going to let that discredit the support and the input that she's had into where Magload is today. She's still a bloody good shooter. Anybody that sees her shoot wearing Magload it's going to associate, top performing shooter with the brand. And of course, we want this whole Dartford thing to be resolved, but it's like, so Connors has this thing of, Magload itself stays politically neutral. Connors also stays as much as possible, certainly not more than I do, politically neutral. And this is why we always talk about caps. Like, when I put the English shooting cap on, it's another ball game. It's like, I know it's like the same person and all this, and you can't, really, can you separate it? But English shooting is it's all very intertwined, but it is separate. And I I only put out the maybe divisive and controversial stuff on English shooting, and we don't do that on Magload. And I have a very different tone when I've got my Magload cap on. So yeah, but if people feel let down because we still have her as part of the team, then I'm sorry about that. But she, she has supported us, and certainly Magload wouldn't be where it is without her input previously, and I think we've got to take that on balance, and ultimately the way that we flip it around is Magload is very well situated with the UK PSA and also with Michelle, and I think there may be a good, or Magload itself may be in a good place to bring the two together at some point, so we don't want to cause more division. What we're trying to do is get people to kiss and make up. And if we start choosing sides, if we start making these divides, it's just going to make it even harder for them to come back together. 430 Scuderia have become crazy money. Yeah, any like sort of special Ferrari, Jesus. Well, they've just gone through the roof. The car market really has gone silly. We'll ask last time, Callum, are you planning? Sorry, I did keep on seeing that question pop up, I was too enthralled in the talk of watches and cars. Callum, are you planning to visit Poland for some IPSC match? If you are interested about level 3 pistol, rifle, or shotgun, let me know. By the way, all of you guys are invited. Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Really the only way for us to shoot out in Europe is by invites and people that might be able to sort us out with gear. If you wouldn't mind emailing us, because we don't have any plans at the moment. But we do. We are planning to go out to Finland as soon as possible, as soon as it sort of works with COVID and the business, because we have Finland and Norway as well. We have a lot of shooters out there. The world, our world champions are Finnish, so. We want to get out there and meet them face to face and film what they do, because they are the top of the shooting game. So we're certainly planning to go out to Finland, and we want to shoot as many matches as possible. Certainly shotgun, we'd love to turn up for a shotgun match in Poland. But yeah, drop me an email, EnglishShooting @gmail.com, or you can even drop it at info@maglo.co.uk. Either will get to me. But yeah, if you drop us a line, and then I've got your email, I've got your contact details, and I can hit you up if we ever plan on going out to Poland. So yeah, really appreciate that. That's a very generous offer. What do you think of luxury cars? Rolls-Royce, the Rolls-Royce Wraith is perfection. The Rolls-Royce Wraith is my is my lottery daily, right? So I'm not a huge fan of luxury cars, right? It's not what's the best way to put it? I love driving. I love driving fast. I love going on track. I love just the raw driving feel of a car, right? It has nothing to do with luxury. It's just unfortunate that the cars that give you the best driving experience happen to be in the luxury car bracket and are usually quite expensive. But the Clio Sport, right? Humongous fun, right? Quite a cheap car. In comparison to the GT4, the Civic Type R, again, for a driver's car, absolutely insane. But compared to others, not particularly expensive. But yeah, when you start getting into the GT4s, GT3s, GT3 RSs, GT2, GT2 RSs, Ferraris and all that, the real ultimate driving experience cars, they just unfortunately cost a lot of money. But in terms of luxury cars, in terms of Bentley, in terms of Rolls-Royce, even the massive obsession that all of these car companies have with SUVs, like the Urus, like the Lamborghini Urus. Yeah, I'd have one. I wouldn't say no, but if I had £200,000 to go and spend on a car, I would not be buying a souped up, 4x4. Range Rovers, I do get Range Rovers, right? I do, I used to bloody hate them, but I do get, I did a really long journey and once I drove up to Carlisle and back. But when I arrived to Carlisle, I felt fresh. And I was I've just done a 4-hour journey. I should be hanging. And it was just a very comfortable place to be. So I do get the luxury element, but it doesn't appeal to me. I would rather be bumping along the road, having to take, genuinely, I have to take specific routes because my car will scrape on certain bumps, right? And yes, you find out the hard way which roads you can't go down. It's a pain in the arse. But when you go down a country road, you drop it down a gear and you hit the, there's nothing like it for me. That's, it doesn't matter how bad of a day you're having, you hook it up on a country road in a good driver's car. You're not thinking about anything else. And I guess it's the escapism of driving that I love. You're just focused on that one thing. But I do absolutely love the Wraith. Again, if I had the sort of money to go and buy a Rolls-Royce, I wouldn't be buying a Rolls-Royce. If I won the Euro Millions or I won the lottery, I would have a Wraith as a daily because I would be able to afford all of the other cars, all of the other drivers' cars first. And before you ask, my ultimate like win the Euro Millions, I'm going and buying it tomorrow. I'll show you because it's been for sale for fucking ages. And I know this seems nuts, but I go and win like, no, how much would I have to win to justify this? Probably not as much as you would think. Like easily, like I win 50 million and above, like I'm buying this car. This is when I find out it's sold. It's sold. This is the ultimate for me, right? In every single way. No, like there's no compromise on this. Bastards, they've sold it. It's been there for motherfuckers. Well, that's that dream out the fucking window. Anyway, it's a oh no, I can bring it up still, because it's like, this is such like an engineer's car. Like if you know about the brand, if you know about this particular car. So this is still saying oh no, it is still for sale. Where have they sold it? No, it is still for sale. Whew. There's still a chance. Anyway, here we go. I'll stop teasing you. The Koenigsegg 1-1. It's like, I know it looks like it's drifted through Halfords backwards, but it's just insane on every level, right? This is it. Like anybody wants to make a serious donation to the channel, yes please. It's just a beast, you know. Like the specs of it are just insane, you know. I just look, for me, like that's what a hypercar should look like. It looks like something from outer space. It's the world's first mega car. So it produces 1 horsepower for every kilo of weight, and it produces 1 megawatt of power. What was the total? Do they have the total horsepower? I don't know it off the top of my head. Oh yeah, so it's 1400 horsepower, right? And it weighs 1360. For comparison, like I think that's in the same ballpark as the GT4. So the GT4 has 380 horsepower. This has 1,000 horsepower more, and it's the same weight. The slight problem with this, and why I'd need to win 50 million to be able to buy it, yeah, that's right, $7.2 million including the VAT. Although then it says POA, so like you're sort of giving the game away there. It is just, that's it. That's the car for me. Anyway, we are a gun channel here. Pagani Zonda R, yes. I'd absolutely have one of those. But yeah. Hey Callum, have you heard from the guy that runs SRS Power channel on YouTube? I haven't heard from Sam for a while. I know a lot of people are asking about, he seems to have fallen off the face of the earth. He sort of has, but it's nothing to be concerned about. He's just busy. I think he was getting promoted at work, taking on more responsibilities. I know he's bought a house recently. I think he's just been too busy to do the videos. But yeah, I haven't heard from him directly. But the last time I saw him was at the last British shooting show. So obviously it got cancelled. Oh shit, that's 2 years ago. Was that the last time I saw him? Fuck, that's gone quickly. If that was, because that doesn't actually feel that long ago. But yeah, he's all right as far as I'm aware. Although I haven't seen him for 2 years. No, I'm friends with him on Facebook. He's still alive. He's still posting just family sort of housey stuff on it. But yeah, he doesn't do videos at the moment. I don't know if it's like a conscious thing that he's not going to do videos anymore. I think there might have been some issues with his work. Like his work maybe had issues with him doing it, so he stopped it. I don't know the ins and the outs of it. Fair play, good explanation, but I'd suggest the 200 members of Dartford have supported Magload more than Michelle Lumley. Yes, yeah, I can't argue with that. Yes. It's like, as I said, it's a really difficult shit situation, and whilst it's in a way it's a cop out to sort of do nothing, like until things settle down, like we understand that, you know, we're both quite vocal. Well, I'm certainly quite vocal, and Connors is well known, and Maglode is well known. And what we don't want to do is start using that to pick a side. It's just like, let's be Switzerland for the moment, and let's try and do negotiations, because ultimately what would be best for those 200 members of Dartford is to sort of have their club back again. You know, and we support Dartford, and we've extended you know, our support to all of the members. Like, again, we are not on any side whatsoever. Any club, any shooter, whatever, any organization that needs our help, like we will give as much as we can. You know, and we've said to them, we know the committee quite well, and they know we are there for them, 100%. Where is Connors? Surely with lockdown restrictions easy, you two can start doing live stream together again. Absolutely. But the I think the operative word there is easing rather than eased. So once we're allowed, because I film this, this is all done from home. So it's not at the office, it's not at a place of work, although my home is a registered. It gets really, like, technically I could swing it that my home is a place of business, because it's where, you know, it's where the company's registered. But like, I could just see Hampshire getting really uppity about it. You know, they themselves have come out and said stuff, you know, like they've revoked licenses for COVID breaches. So I'm playing it completely safe, right? I'm not taking any bloody risks, because that's the last thing I need. But yeah, as soon as it's 100% that, you know, like, Connors can come into the home and we'll be fine, we will 100% be live streaming again. Also, there is something, and I've been teasing you guys for weeks with this. I'm going to continue to tease, because until things are signed on the dotted line, anything could happen. There is also something else in the works that will also allow us to do live streams in a much bigger and better way, but you have to wait and see on that one, unfortunately. But yeah, as soon as he's allowed to come in and sort of sit here in a home environment, let's say, he will be back. Law is for Section 2 shotguns. You can have as many as you like. You don't have to give them a reason. As with Section 1, you have to give them a reason, which is weird. Yep. Like, yeah, I guess you were replying to somebody else on that. Did you fancy doing the remote finish brutality? No, can't say I did. Like, props to anyone that does. Can't say I really wanted it. Callum, let me know if you're ever in is that Stavanger in Norway. Absolutely. Again, like, the best thing to do is, if no matter where you are in the world, if you are kind enough to offer an invitation, like, email. Like, the best way is email, because like I'll pin it, you know, and what I can do then is I can search in that, you know, group, like Norway or America or whatever, you know, Poland or Finland, and anyone that is emailed with an invitation, you know, from those countries, it then comes up, you know, so I can keep a track of it. But yeah, like, if you want to extend that via email, again, EnglishShooting@gmail.com or info@maglode.co.uk. Norway, it's very likely that we will end up in Norway, because Vegard is Norwegian, and he's sort of one of the world's best mini rifle shooters and rifle shooters. So, you know, we want to support him as well, and get out there and do videos with him and do some training with him, and we'll probably combine that with Finland as well, although Finland and Norway sound a lot closer than they are. Like, we were doing the Google Maps on it, and it's a savage, absolutely savage travel. I mean, and this is after driving to the Swedish or the World Shoot in Sweden. That, you know, 26 hours in a car or van, like, with Connors and a guy Jim. Yeah, like, we were all ruined by the end of that, in more ways than one. VXR8. That's the like, it's also called, is that not called also the it's like the Moldino, or like the Maldonado or something. Maldonado, don't want that. Yeah, it's got like some like 6.5 litre engine in it. Is that the one? Is that the right one? I like the, what do they call it? It's the Australian version. It's the Holden, where they do that, like they put like a 5 litre engine in a pickup. You can get them in the UK. There's people that have bought them over. It's they're insane. It's like a, you know, supercar pickup. I'm in the UK, so no longer have my handguns. That's sad. Should never let them go. Well, we didn't like let them go. Just the organisations didn't put up a fight. Koenigsegg sound really different than what you would think sound like a muscle car. Yeah, I go to a lot of car shows, like Goodwood Festival, Speed, absolutely love that. Like the best way to describe a Koenigsegg tearing it up like the hill climb is thunder. It is like deep thunder. It's insane. And there was actually a one-to-one that turned up. It was the Wilton Wake Up, I think they call it. It's the Wilton House breakfast meets. And we went down there, and a one-to-one turned up, and even just pootling along, it just sounded absolutely insane. Cars don't do it for you, but you get a few planes. Now that's an expensive hobby. Like, absolutely business expense, of course. If I won the Euro Millions, I'd buy a Massey Ferguson and drive it around every day at 8:30 to the local shops, trying to get the biggest tailback of commuters, knowing I never have to work again. Absolutely. The thing is, I'd still work. You know, I'd still do English shooting. I'd still do magload, like, because they're, you know, there's passion there. I enjoy them. They, you know, they're not, I guess, work in the traditional sense. You just subscribe. Thank you very much. Anyone else new watching, hit that subscribe button. I promise that it's not always about cars and watches. We do talk about guns on this channel, but we like to keep it diverse. By the way, is Magload located at Bluefield Sports, or have you guys separated now? So we have sort of situated at Bluefield Sports. So we've never actually been like at Bluefield Sports, but we're on the estate that Bluefield Sports is on. So we don't have our own shop, but we have our own premises. So it's like an office. We have an office and a product store, and where all the shipping's done from. And then there's a separate workshop on the estate, across the estate. That's where all the machinery and big tools are. But yes, we are at the Bluefield Sports site. But Magload has always been separate in terms of a company sense. And in terms of, you know, separating further, you'll have to wait and see. I think it's called a ute, not a pickup. It's a pickup. Like, just because the Aussies want to give it a silly name. The Monaro. That's it. That's how you say it. That's what I was talking about. So the Monaro was the coupe, but the VO. Okay, so it's like 4-door. We did put up a fight but lost. Yep, no, absolutely. Well, I think the shooters put up a fight. Like, Basque and the NRA were like, no, don't do it. And the government were like, no, we're going to take them. And they're like, oh, okay, then. You know, that's actually a historical reenactment of the handgun ban, if you didn't know. I know a guy who bought a Colt from somebody in England in the 70s and 80s. I bet that's worth a bit more now. What are your thoughts on box-fed shotguns? What do you think of the Armsan RSS1? Armsan RSS1, solid gun. It's not necessarily ready for competition out of the box, but get in contact with Magload, or a guy called Graham Guest, or if you get in contact with Magload, we'll get you in contact with Graham Guest. He's the one currently pimping them out. They, like, it's a lot of the top box fed shooters, a lot of the top open shooters on the UK PSA circuit, and even IPSC circuit, internationally, have picked up arm sands. So they're certainly looking into it. It is being hailed as potentially the next open gun. So the RSS1 solid gun. Like, I just need to have a quick check first before I make this statement, because Magload make the magwell for it, and Connors is, let's say, very picky about the guns that he makes products for, and usually doesn't make products for guns that are crap, like, because it's like, we're about competition, about high performance. Like, why are we going to make products for something that isn't sort of like top end? Having said that, we have discussed making products for the Chris Vector, but let's move on away from that quickly. So that's my thoughts on the Armsan RSS1. In terms of box fed overall, for me, more trouble than they're worth, right? Even the KL12, which is a £5,000-6,000 gun, they still have issues, right? They're not. Everyone thinks, I'm going to spend £6,000 on a gun and it's never going to go wrong again. You're going to be very disappointed if that's your approach. Like, yes, it is a lot more reliable than most of the box feds out there. It's not 100% still. And to me, I genuinely think that there's a lot of shooters out there that would be faster with a tube fed, because their gun lets them down, because it's not as reliable. And for me, they're very unwieldy. Like, box feds are incredibly heavy, like cumbersome bits of kit, and let's not forget that actually the fastest shotgun shooter in the country shoots a Benelli M2, like heavily modified, but it's Josh Kenny. Like, Josh Kenny beats all of the open shooters, right, including Team Magload's Ben Ducker. And Ben Ducker is not is not a bad shot, by any means. If I ever beat him on a stage, I'm happy. Let's just put it at that. He's a phenomenal shooter. But Kenny with a tube fed, now, I don't know, but it's not a complete fair comparison in some ways. But I genuinely think that a tube fed could be, in certain scenarios, could be faster, because they are more agile, they're lighter, and there's a lot of stages where being able to just quickly chuck in 10 rounds doesn't actually gain you that much time. And also, like, red dots. Like, I know red dots overall are faster and better and sort of more accurate than iron sights, but I don't aim a shotgun when I shoot it. It's a natural thing. Like, you make sure the gun fits you. You get your face on that stock, and you make sure that you can't see the rib. And like, wherever you point that gun and what you're looking at, you're going to shoot, right? So you don't aim it. It's just very natural. And I think, for me, every time I try to use like a red dot on a shotgun or even a handgun, like, I spend far more time trying to find the dot. Again, with handgun, I don't really aim a handgun. It's like, if you have the right grip and you have the right presentation to yourself, whatever you are pointing at or looking at, you are going to shoot. And especially, if you've got 5-10 meter targets, you don't need to be pinpoint accurate. You need to just put 2 holes in it and move on. So yeah, personally, I prefer the tube fed. And for me, there's a greater satisfaction in quad loading, right? You're doing more. You are the one loading that gun. So it's just, overall, I think it's a tougher competition. It's a tougher challenge to do it. I agree. Basque and the NRA didn't help much. Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are very, very bitter, even today, about that. Thanks for the info. That's really useful. Glad to be glad to help. Would you guys ever do a custom magazine for guns? I like custom magazines for the Merkel Helix. Yes, I mean, Magload is always open for like custom projects. Like, prepare yourself, because you're gonna have to pay design time. Like, there's design time and development costs. But like, you can come to Magload with any idea you want. You can come to us with a napkin drawing of something, and we will try and make it for you. So that's what we always try. That's what we will always try to maintain. Just curious, what % of your viewers are American? I think last time I checked, it was in the region of like 40%. It was around that mark. I can actually just look. I have my analytics right here. Audience. So over the last 28 days. Oh, it's much lower than I thought, actually. There was one point where it was like 40%. So over the last 28 days, 55.7% were United Kingdom, 20.9% were United States, and then 1.9% Canada, 1.4% Australia, 1% Thailand. So it's still 20%. It's the second largest majority of viewers on the channel. With United Kingdom being 55, as you would expect for a channel called English Shooting. I wonder what that changes to if I go to the life of the channel. Not all of these figures go back. Oh yeah, so actually long term. So in the last 28 days, it was lower than usual. But over the lifetime of the channel, 37.4% is United Kingdom, 32.6% is United States. So, between the UK and the US, it's very, very close, actually. Difference of 5%. 2.6% Canada, 1.4% Thailand, 1.3% Australia. I do like looking through all of the different countries because it just like baffles me, like some of the places that watch the videos. But hey ho, if you wanna watch. So yeah, lifetime. That's where I got the original 40%. But in the last, I've lost US videos. What have I done over the last week to deserve that? Or 28 days even. Any hizzle. What about the Tigris arms? I'm not. I don't think I'm going to be justified in saying this. The Tigris, I've seen them run. I've seen some have issues. So like I've only seen a handful out and about. Some seem to run really well. Some seem to need tweaks and issues. And I haven't seen the follow up after those issues. But for me, it's a rebranded and Connor's as well. It's a rebranded UTAS, and I'm not saying that all Turkish guns are bad, but the fact that you look at the writing on the Tigris and say that it doesn't remind you of a UTAS. Like you put a UTAS and a Tigris side by side, very, very similar. I don't know. I don't know enough about it. Let's say I have a history with the company that sells them, and for that reason alone, I wouldn't go near the gun. It's unfortunately, I think it's a case of people that actually have very little experience or credibility within the practical shooting market, duping others into thinking they have. And that's what sort of, the gun itself might be great, but the fact that these guys are selling it, that's what puts me off and maybe leads me to believe that it's maybe not as good as people are saying that it is. On June 1st, shotguns with bigger capacity than 5 rounds will become legal for IPS shooters here in Norway. Yeah, I heard you won that, which is awesome. Buy some Maglo caddies. We can sort you out with commission. We were actually talking with a Norwegian distributor. So we will hit them back up again, because obviously if you can now have high capacity shotguns, then IPSC, because Norway's big into their guns anyway, and are big into their IPSC, so they're going to get big into the practical shotgun, and we want to hit that market. What about World War II reenacting? Is that reason enough to own a semi or full auto machine gun? Technically, yes, you can get Section 5 for collecting purposes and historic purposes, but you need to be like a serious collector. And you need start small basically, but you can get Section 7.3, which would allow you to, I don't know if it transfers on to full auto or is it just handguns, but you really probably want to start in section 7.3, then you will meet the sort of people that are going to help you get a section 5 for collecting purposes. Fultons at Bisley, I don't think they're necessarily good to go and speak to, because they can be quite grumpy, like they've like a very traditional, like old style gun shop, but they are like the section 5 historical full auto guys, like that. And HBSA is who you want to go talk to as well. Callum, I need to educate the Brits on section 5. I have been told that handguns are not available, so yeah, I have been trying to educate people of this. This is frustrating that I have to educate so many. Stephen, I have to say, I've seen your name pop up across Facebook. I know obviously you've messaged me before. There's a few people I think getting a little bit frustrated with your education, if I'm going to put it politely. I think there's a lot of people feel that maybe you're not as educated as you may think. I don't mean to say that to be nasty or anything, but there's been a few. I think the way in which you've approached some people has rubbed people up the wrong way. So I'd just be careful. Our laws are incredibly complicated. People tend to get the wrong end of the stick, left, right, and centre. So it's just one to be aware of. Okay, was really looking at getting one, but maybe not. Sorry about that. It's I guess I don't know. Again, I don't want. It could be a really good gun. Go for the Armsan. Like the Armsan, like you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with it. And it is basically Russian. Like, it is Turkish. It's basically Russian. Like, make of that what you will. But yeah, it says it's a Russian. It's like heavy is good, heavy is reliable. You can always throw it at the targets. I'll finish off on this. So I think that's going to be all for this evening. It has flown, but I didn't expect this to be like a near 3-hour stream. But before you all bugger off, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you have subscribed if you haven't already. We do this every single week at half 10. It's getting on for 10:30. 7:30 UK time every Thursday. And if you want to learn more about English shooting, and then you can see right there, streaming live 7:30 GMT every Thursday. If you want to support the channel, you can go and get yourself some awesome swag, some awesome merch, which everything goes back into the channel. If you want to support us, there are a few more goodies coming in the next few weeks as well. If you want to support the channel as well with those, but you'll see them on the stream. I'll probably put a post up on the English Shooting Facebook page, which you should definitely go and follow if you're on Facebook and you haven't already liked it. And also Instagram, we have an Instagram account which I'm trying to get more active with, but it's EnglishShooting.org. I will put a link. Oh yeah, you can get to all the social media from EnglishShooting.org as well. So basically, if you want to learn more about the channel, support it, head over to the website, and you can do what you wish. But yeah, it's been an interesting and varied live stream this evening. Lots of talks about cars and watches, which I certainly don't complain about because, again, they're big interests of mine. But I hope you've all enjoyed it. I hope you've have had a good evening. For those that have made it through, the nearly 3 hours of this evening, I thank you, and your commitment is noted. But yeah, I hope you all have a fantastic week. A few more videos. I didn't even get to. I'm gonna tease you quickly because this is gonna come out. I was hoping it would be out this week actually, but it's gonna be coming out very, very soon, and it is. There we go. I'm gonna bring it up. It's the Ely Speed Stills. So if you wanna, this is gonna be sort of like a full match breakdown, pretty much every single stage. There we go. And also it's the first time shooting a battle arms lightweight in competition, so that's going to be coming out this week. I'm hoping to get the voiceover done this weekend, and there's a few other videos as well on laws and suitability to own firearms as well. So there we go, guys. Again, thank you everyone for joining. I really hope you've enjoyed it. Your support and viewership and subscribership is always appreciated. And as always, hope to see you soon.